locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my OG, got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though. Cocaine in my nose, they got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on coke though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL, it's Wednesday night, it's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boremand goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boremand and Gunnar, but Bormand's got the inside.
Star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see that Putin to lead. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name. Well, good evening everybody and a warm welcome back to PSGL here, brought to you by GT Omega, and not to mention, as you can see, Chill Blast have joined us for tonight's race as well as around Zandvoort. My name is of course George Morgan. Joining me, Jack Kinnan. We're going to be bringing you live action from the Dutch Grand Prix circuit of Zandvoort. Certainly a circuit close to many's heart, including the rampant Dutch fans that have seen racing over many a year. Of course, Max Verstappen, the current champ, that is his home circuit, and certainly one I'm sure he'll be gracing his presence at in his own championship. But hellacious times we've had, certainly at this circuit, with the likes of Jarno Opmeer, who currently holds the all-time PSGL wins record around this very circuit since the last time we went racing back in season 30. But Jack, welcome back. We're here once again, another race around Zandvoort, and as I said, the first time since season 30.
Yeah, it is. We've only been here on 3 occasions, and Jarno has won 2 of those occasions, and the other occasion was won by Joni Tormela in mixed conditions around here at Zandvoort. So there's lots of pedigree. So we haven't been here for a while, so we're going into this sort of half blind. Now, in the past 2 weeks as well, there have been some changes to this championship as well. If you're not aware, the first 2 rounds results have been voided because the drivers discovered a glitch, that basically meant that different cars had different rates of tyre wear. So we have now switched over to the F1 World Car. So it's a brand new thing for us that should even things out. And it means we'll have some different liveries. Cars might look a bit different, but the racing will stay very much the same. But round 1 and round 2 points are voided. So we are starting from scratch here at Zandvoort.
We certainly are, folks. So do not consider the first 2 results. Well, we'll consider them on a stats front, but obviously no points necessarily carried across. But I wanted to say a few words, folks, in correspondence with some events that happened at the start of the week. Obviously, some of you might have bore witness to the action at Spa over the course of the weekend, where, of course, there was racing in the 24-hour Spa in Belgium. I was, of course, commentating that weekend for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, and unfortunately, a driver succumbed to the circuit of Spa once again. This time it was Delano van 't Hoff, driver, of course, of MP Motorsport, who collided with the car of Adam Fitzgerald and unfortunately passed away on receipt of that incident. Unfortunately, that does mean that MP have pulled out of the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine for this week, but understandable reasons due to the Delano van 't Hoff's funeral. Of course, with this being a Dutch track tonight, some might say it's appropriate for us to obviously discuss it, but I think whatever the circumstances, it's important that we obviously acknowledge the passing of a truly special young man, and we will always remember you, Delano, and a fantastic driver, a fantastic talent. And I just hope that his family and friends are doing okay wherever they are. So big thank you to Delano for everything that he's certainly given the world of motorsport. So there we are. That's my 2 cents on that, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone can disagree with this. It's been a tough week in motorsports, and we send all our best wishes to Delano's family, and who I can't imagine what it's like at the moment. But we can forget sometimes that motorsport's dangerous. We're not invincible, unfortunately, and life is short. Delano was 18 years old and unfortunately had his life cut short in an accident. So we're thinking of him tonight, and we're thinking of his family, and we're thinking of all of those who've gone before us in racing and have paved the way for safety. And hopefully this will be the last time that we see a man that young lose his life like that. But it's appropriate, of course, that we talked about it because it's a Dutch track this evening, and I think we can dedicate this one to Delano.
Yeah, I think so. Tonight's race, obviously, in the honour of Delano Van 't Hoff, of course, tonight, folks. So there we go. And a young man that should never have gone, and gone way before his time as well. A Spanish F4 champion and a very, very proficient karter as well. The likes of Jarno Watmir raced against him. Of course, Jarno himself has ties to MP Motorsport through his family, of course, mechanics involved in that team. So obviously we pay our own homage to a fantastic young talent. So RIP Delano Van 't Hoff. So tonight, obviously, on the discussion of that, we have obviously got a race at Zandvoort, and with the drivers lined up here tonight, Jack, we're obviously not going to be utilising the official cars that these teams are allied to. It's the F1 World Car tonight, due to the current situation in terms of the tyre grip levels and obviously the mass torque that is delivered over the course of the past week or so on social media. We're now seeing the cars utilising the drivers utilise the F1 World Car here in league racing as well.
Yeah, it's the first time that we've had it in PSGL, so it's new in that regard. I can reveal, guys, Q1's wet, so we're starting off immediately with interesting conditions. We have sorts of wet conditions, but drivers are out on dry tyres. So I wonder, is this the reverse strategy, what we see in the dry, with guys using inters, saving sets of inters by using dries? I think this could be a reverse strategy. But you'll see now the liveries, the drivers will have tried to replicate their actual liveries as close as possible. So we'll keep our eyes on that as well. But it is going to be a bit of an adjustment for us as well, trying to keep track of the different. It's not as easy to find guys on the timing tower as well, because obviously the pit boxes as well. Guys will not necessarily be sharing the same pit box as each other, so they'll be figuring out who they're sharing a pit box with, so they don't pit at the same time. And so it's not a perfect solution, but it is the solution that the guys have agreed to while we wait for a patch to come out for the irregular tire wear that is currently going on the game. Different cars had different tire wears. They could go slightly longer than the rest, maybe I say slightly longer, they go a lap or two longer on tires, with the drivers testing the limits of that as well. So that is the levels that we get to, but for the moment this is what we are going to be doing. But what it does mean is we start from scratch. It's round 3, but rounds 1 and 2 are voided points wise, so they did happen, but nobody got any points from them in that regard. So we will be starting from scratch in this one. So Lucas Blakely, well, he's not here this week, unfortunately. He's he's actually in the McLaren Technology Centre at the moment, so he's not in a bad place, but I think he was a little bit disappointed that he's leading the championship and now everything gets voided. Yeah, I think absolutely right, Jack. I mean, naturally it's always disappointing when you give it your utmost out on the circuit, and naturally, if you're someone like Lucas Blakely as well, who is so used to taking the major results, certainly in recent times as well, after winning the F1 Esports title, not to mention a PSGL champion in his own right, of course, back in season 31. He's going to look to obviously try and reharness that pace once again here around Zandvoort. But we've got to talk about recent records as we see Marcel Kiefer, who is purple in the first sector, green in the second. Obviously, we won't take too much stock in these initial times, as we're not sure what the weather is going to do, but nevertheless, vital for the drivers to hit the front. And first fastest there for Marcel Kiefer, who's right at the top of the tree now. We've also got Patrick Schipos, who has gone purple in the second sector. Green in the first, goes second fastest. Mere hundredths separating out of Kiefer and Schipos up in the top end of things, with more time starting to filter through. We've also got Dylan Warren making his way down towards the line, donning what must be said, a cracking-looking Brawn-esque livery, making his way down through towards the line, third fastest to his name. We've also got Philip Prejneda returning to us back on track, a former race winner here at PSGL as well, back when he was at Ferrari, managing to cross the line in Spa-Francorchamps himself, taking the victory, his only victory that season, and his only victory to boot in PSGL so far. But heads straight into the pit lane, not showing anything just yet. But it's Kiefer on top, Jack. It is absolutely for the moment, and we have a couple of others, of course, who are joining us, filling in. Of course, we have Shanaka Clay, who was last week's winner in the stewards' room afterwards, as Josh Ito. He's back from holidays, everybody. Josh Ito is back on the grid here, and good to see him back, but not in Red Bull colours this time. Of course, he's in his in his uniquely designed livery. But Josh Ito back from holidays and is finally back on the PSGL grid. But there's a couple of others that we have to mention as well. Tom Manley joins us on the grid this week as well. Great to have him back at the helm as well. I remember him fighting for a victory against Luke Smith in Saudi Arabia last season. So definitely one to watch there is Tom Manley. The return of the pad goat, George. Louis Welch is back in the PSGL grid as well. And from my memory, if we remember back a couple of seasons ago to the season 29, it was him fighting with Joni Tormala for a win around here.
It was. Came home with P2 as well in between that of Tormala and Sebastian Job, who would go on to finish third as well in that previous event. So the pad goat does have a little bit of form around this track, but one man who certainly does have form around here is this man, the Flying Dutchman. Jarno Opmeer returns here once again, fresh off the back of, should we say, an interesting start to this season if we encapsulate everything that has happened so far here in this season's PSGL Championship. Obviously, the points now being reset gives Opmeer another chance here to enlist some more improved times here in qualifying, maybe even a superb race. Does have great records around this track, as I alluded to. A winner back in season 27 here at Zandvoort, the first season we went racing here on the PC platform, beating Alessio Di Capua as well as Alvaro Caraton. He then won it again back in season 30, the last time we raced here, again beating Caraton, who came second, and Thomas Ronhaar, who finished third on that occasion. Just a note on Thomas Ronhaar, Jack, he's coming back next week to this championship.
Yeah, so all the guys you see missing this week, of course, Alvaro and Shanaka are both on a Williams event in London, so I'm sure they're having a great time out there in London with the Williams teams. And of course Lucas is at the McLaren Technology Centre. Thomas as well, yeah, he'll be back next week, so it's going to be a good one to keep our eyes on when we head to our next circuit, which I think is Brazil off the top of my head when we go to round number 4. So we've got plenty to look forward to, but we still have a race in our hands here, and it's sort of an interesting, it seems like it's switching to intermediate conditions now, but it's tricky because I mean DRS is still enabled, so technically speaking the dries would work, but it's currently Dylan Warren up at the front, but it's Jarno Opmeer who's currently the man on the lap here as he comes out of the second to last corner into the redesigned final corner a couple of seasons ago. And of course, yes, he has 2 of the 3 victories since we've been here. He took his first ever pole position here and his first win here back in season 27. He's crossing the line here and he goes to the top on a 113.7. That just shows you intermediate's certainly the ones to be out on, and it's probably a good time to come out now because if it's going to get worse, well, then the DRS is going to get disabled, and that's a couple of tenths in hand there.
Yep, certainly is. But a 113.779 blitzes Dylan Warren's 114.249. So certainly looking in good speed as well. Wilson Hughes also setting a purple first sector at 25.654. I tell you what as well, going down, Otis Lawrence as well setting a purple second sector. So it's going to be very tight up at the sharp end. Wilson Hughes, the Scot, lined up alongside Lucas Blakely, his fellow Scot and also former PSGL champion. Hughes goes second fastest here at this point. Where does Otis Lawrence place himself as well? The hero from last time out goes 4th fastest, does Otis Lawrence. And again, we'll go back to the United States, Jack Kinnan. He was stellar that night, nearly took the race win, but a penalty for crossing the white line on pit entry, which was against the rules in PSGL and flagged up by a driver that wasn't even racing that night. It caused a little bit of a stir.
It did cause some arguments, we can say, but it's all resolved now. But yes, it was an incredible display from Otis Lawrence. He came from 17th on the grid to the win, but was again penalised for crossing the pit entry white line, the solid white line that is not allowed in the driver's briefing rules. Every week the drivers get a driver's briefing with certain notes about certain lines that you cannot cross. And he went marginally over the white line, but it was certainly a breach in that regard. He received a penalty and it dropped him away and gave Shanaka Clay his, again, another victory, I think his second victory in PSGL. So it was great to see him up at the front end, but of course it will all get voided anyway, so none of it matters. It's back to square one in the end, but it was a shame to see Otis with a drive like that to just get it taken away with the penalty in the end. So there was lots to discuss after that race, but I'm nobody can take away the fact that Otis did that on pace as well from the rear of the field. I made an alternate strategy work, and I made this point afterwards that during that race, we had 3 separate strategies in the top 3. That was not a thing on the previous game, so in that regard, it was a big step forward. But now we have to wait to, of course, get the tyre wear issue fixed.
Yeah, we certainly do. Marcel Kiefer currently sits now 8th fastest, gone purple in the first sector as well. We saw Jake Benham, he's currently 4th fastest. Barry Burman went 2nd fastest. Now it's all down to Marcel Kiefer as Benham now goes fastest again, taking a superb run. And Marcel Kiefer tops him as well. It's a Mercedes 1, 2 and 3. Obviously Benham not representing Mercedes here in PSGL, has to drive the AlphaTauri, but 3 of the drivers as part of the Mercedes program in F1 Esports are in the top 3 and looking very prosaic, as well as Donoso now looks to set the faster times, looking very pacey. Of course, Aston Martin green here today obviously represents Aston Martin here in PSGL as well. That's his allied car in this championship. Berezhny just stolen the fastest first sector as Donoso heads up, 2nd fastest for Donoso. But the big question is, what can Berezhny do, Jack?
He's looking good, isn't he, Danny Berezhny? So we were able to see all these Mercedes-style liveries now. Danny Berezhny, of course, also part of Mercedes Esports as well, as he comes out of the second-to-last corner. DRS Open on the way through the banked final corner up to the line now. Looking good so far for the Hungarian. What can he do? Crosses the line, goes to the top. 13.1. So this track is improved, but Sipos beats him immediately on a 13.006. Track ramping up here. And a man we haven't mentioned yet, George, returned to PSGL, Danny Moreno on a lap.
He certainly is. I'd tell you another man who's just set the fastest first sector. It's Louis Welch. The pad man is back here at Zandvoort and has gone purple in the first sector at 25.368, 25.674 in the middle sector. Surely not Louis Welch. Towards the line, 3rd fastest. He goes faster than Marcel Kiefer and Donoso, just behind Shipos and Danny Berezhny. Incredible stuff. And you were saying about Danny Moreno, Jack. Here he comes now.
Yeah, Grant across the line. Where does he go on his lap? 3rd fastest for Danny Moreno, part of McLaren now, of course. And it has stopped raining to note as well on those laps. So this may be a bit of a hectic end to Q1, because it could get into a stage where we get to dry tyres being the best tyre. But currently it's still the inters. Most guys still out on those intermediate compound tyres for the moment, but there's still plenty of time left. Tom Manley is the other car that's on a lap at the moment in his car as well. Comes out of the second to last corner, see if he's going to be able to improve on his position. He's 17th currently in the drop zone, so ideally needs a big improvement here as he comes onto the final straight. Dylan Warren takes it away, 12.4. Tom Manley goes to second on a 12.5. So Dylan Warren getting the best track conditions so far, but the track is improving rapidly, because that's a 6/10 improvement on Patrick Sipos a lap ago.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous lap there from Tom Manley, but Dylan Warren to the top now, 112.481, the top 2 in the 112s, the track improving all the time. The big question is, do we see the slick tyres back on the car? Warren on top, Manley 2nd, Shipos in 3rd, Berezhny now outside the top 3, he's down to 4th. Moreno, who marks his return here in the world of PSGL. Remember, of course, having that very, very contentious battle with Jarno Opmeer when they both shared a seat in Mercedes. They went racing in Austria. They came together. Moreno now back here as well, this time in the colours of McLaren. His new team, of course, as we head into another F1 Esports season. But Dylan Warren on top here with a 112.481. And he just seems to be constantly improving, Jack. And a driver, keenly enough, without an esports team.
Yes, he is. And we know that the esports teams keep an eye on PSGL. They like to see what young drivers are impressing. Currently, while Dylan Warren is one of the most experienced drivers on the PSGL grid. He's been here since the very beginning, season 27, and has consistently impressed, really, with some of his escapades, but has yet to have a win to his name, and I'm sure he'd love one today. And he's actually sharing a garage, I think, with Tom Manley, so another young gun just behind as well that will be taking it around. But now the dry tyres are out on the circuit, and it's Ruben Pedreño is making a return to PSGL as well. Now part of Alpine, of course, and he's got his Alpine teammate Luke Smith behind. So let's see what these two decide to do. Are they going to go for another push lap? No, they're going to come straight back into the pits, actually, after going round on those dry tyres. So everybody is now in the pits. And you sort of feel that everyone's going to wait till the very last possible moments to get a lap in, because, well, it's going to get hectic, George, because you've got in the drop zone currently Otis Lawrence, Josh Ido, Istvan Pukki, Matthias Van Erven, and Brendan Lee, and that's the drop zone.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. It has to be said. That is some hench name certainly to be sitting at the very bottom. Of course, all the cars now coming in, as you allude to, Jack. We might not yet see another lap until the dying moments, but that might come very, very abruptly, because we're now into the final 3.5 minutes, and it's now or never for many of them. Pookie, Van Erven, as well as Brendan Lee, not yet setting a single lap time, but we are hearing the firing up of engines now here in the closing stages of Q1. So we'll have to sit tight, get ready for those final moments, to say the least. Now, going back to Dylan Warren, after that stellar lap that he set last time, and remember his debut back in season 27, racing for Racing Point that season, consistent points finishes in the first 5 races, and no less at Zandvoort as well, scoring an almighty 5 points in that first season. Marking his return back now with the fastest Q1 time of a 1:12.481 certainly does give him all the chance here to perform to his best. We have now got Kiefer out on track, as well as Donoso. Jarno Watmere joining his teammate Marcel Kiefer. New teammates, of course, former rivals. I hark back to F1 Esports when these two were fighting it out. Remember, Kiefer was trying to win the championship when Jarno won it for the first time back in 2020. Well, I hark back to 2021. It got very contentious. Jarno winning his first championship with Mercedes as well. And looking back at Brazil, Kiefer trying to box him off, wasn't able to do so, and it led, of course, to Otmir winning his title. Rasmussen just missing out, coming second once again for the, had to be said, 3rd time running on that occasion. Remember, Rasmussen not finishing outside the top 3 at all in the F1 Esports Pro Championship since the teams got involved back in 2018, which is a stellar record. Shame we haven't got him here tonight, but nevertheless, a stellar record. Kiefer there in 8th place, who tried to garner him that championship, just wasn't to be. But now alongside Jarno Watmere, I do wonder how that relationship's going to work, and certainly how is Kiefer going to respond to now being an opponent of Freddie Rasmussen at this point.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting dynamic for sure. But of course, we expect Freddie to be back next week, of course. But again, now Jarno began a lap and backed out straight away. Coming through turn number 1. Interesting. So he lets Fabrizio Donoso pave the way here in his car. Of course, he qualified P3 last week and was caught up immediately in a turn 1 incident, and we never really saw the best of Donoso in the race pace in the end. As he dropped down the end, he's just gone fastest of anybody in the first sector by quite some margin compared to everybody else. So this track is very quick at the moment. Donoso absolutely flying through that first sector. This track is so quick now in these cars as he comes through sector 2. Then again, a lap at the moment is only 1:12, but this is going to get consistently quicker and quicker and quicker as we get through the rest of Q1. This is only Q1, folks. Still Q2 and Q3 to go, and again, a big middle sector from Donoso as well. This should be easily fastest. Purple for Fabrizio Donoso so far. He's got a bit of traffic coming up in the form of one of the McLarens, I think it is Otis Lawrence, I think is just in front of him here as he comes up to the final quarter. Donoso looking really good. This is going to be an absolute stormer of a lap. Donoso, 1:08.2, huge improvements coming in now. So this is going to be crucial laps for the rest of the field here, but Donoso lays down the marker.
He certainly does. Patrick Schipos as well, who went purple in the first sector at 23.758. Improved in the second. Not quite purple though, because Matthias Van Erven has stolen that. Kiefer goes to the top. Schipos gets past him as well. Well, what about Matthias Van Erven? Purple in the second sector. Matthias Van Erven, of course, part of that RAG team. Across the line, 3rd fastest. Not enough to pip the 2 at the top. In comes now Jake Benham, the All-Star, as part of the Mercedes Academy. 6th place now goes to Jake Benham. More and more cars rushing through. Luke Smith, who is, of course, a representative of Alpine. Otis Lawrence back to the top with a 1:08.050. Schipos behind him. Brendan Lee. Oh, Barry Burman to the top now. Luke Smith to the top with a 1:07. Incredible stuff, Jack.
It's all change here in PSGL. Luke Smith up at the front for the moment here in Q1. It's all about being in the top 15 cars here, and more improvements coming in as they all start to cross the line here, but it's getting a little bit tight for space here. Danny Berezne in the drop zone up to the line now. Has he done enough to get himself out of the drop zone? No, he hasn't. So Danny Berezne will be out in this session. Dylan Warren makes it in on his attempt there. So still a couple more cars to come. Philip Preschneider, he makes it in on a 1:08.1, leaving only one man left. Jarno Watmere coming up to the line now. Does he get himself out of Q1 here with this lap? He certainly does. Gets himself through on a 1:08.104. So super close across the board here. But in the drop zone, Josh Ito will be out of qualifying. Fabrizio Donoso out in Q1. Jake Benham Danny Berezne and Louis Welch, they all did not get representative times in the end. Shocker there for Fabrizio Donoso, George.
Well, I think if you're Louis Welch, you're praying that the rain should have stayed out, really. Naturally, that's not ideal at all. Out in Q1, but no one could stop Luke Smith. There he is, folks, a 107.921. And only the top two set 107s. The other man being Barry Burremand in second place. Of course, the current PSGL champion here this season. We want to talk about Burremand's form, multi-time winner, 12 times a race winner here in PSGL, and competed ever since season 27, where he would battle Jarno Opmeer back in season 27 as well, and onwards since then too. Holds great records at the start of a season. He might have just brought that form back as well, seeing as the points have been scrapped as of this point, but debuting in F1 Esports in 2020 and would take a maiden win last season, of course, at Spa, with 8 podiums since 2020, 2 poles in 2021 at China and Zandvoort, as we are here today. Luke Smith, though, the fastest man out on circuit. 58 thousandths back, Barry Burremand with Otis Lawrence in third. And just behind Tom Manley, Patrick Schipos rounds out the top 5. Let's take a look at those that we have lost. Josh Edo out of qualifying. Fabrizio Donoso is also out as well. Jake Benham, the All-Star, not having a great run at all. A 108.388. That took him out of the question or the equation. Danny Berezne as well out, as well as Louis Welch. Quite a few scalps there, Jack, that we have lost.
Yeah, there is, surprising enough, especially for the likes of Donoso, Jake Benham, Danny Berezne. They would not have wanted to have gone out in Q1, but we saw what somebody could do when they got knocked out in Q1 last week. So let's not count anything out here. But yeah, great job from Luke Smith. Has the 1 pole position to his name. His one and only pole came last season, I believe, at Saudi Arabia, I think it was, that he managed to steal pole position away from the rest of the field. But Barry Burremand has the most pole positions of anybody in PSGL at 16 pole positions to his name so far. He want to make that 17 here today. But interesting first session. So the dry and the wet mixing it up again here at PSGL, but looks like it's going to be a full dry session here for Q2. And it's sort of interesting to see again some guys returning to form. Danny Moreno, we know he didn't have the best game cycle last time, but easily through to Q2 here.
Yeah, he is back to form, and many call him the one driver with the pure natural talent. Many actually say that he does harness that ability to just be able to show up and perform, and he certainly has done that on many an occasion. So naturally, we'll have to wait and see whether that is the case this time around. Finished second in the championship back in season 29 here in PSGL, and that very season racking up his solitary race win back in Portimao in the final race of that season. Jarno Opmeer, the only man who would beat him and would go clear by 16 points in that championship. Can we see the Flying Dutchman get back to his best? Of course, a 3-time PSGL champion in season 27, 28-29 and 30. Of course, the 28-29 season combined during that campaign. Of course, we just call it season 29 generically, and then season 30 where he would take his 3rd championship as well, beating Danny Berezne, who is now his teammate. Of course, this season returns to Mercedes, but not in this realm of qualifying, out in Q1. So obviously it's going to be a real recharge here for Danny Berezne, as now we see Opmeer make his way down the latter sector. But already now we've seen some major names fall. We could yet see some more fall this time in Q2 as well. Jack, what are your thoughts? Who do you think could survive? Who do you think is going to fall?
It's a tough one to call because, again, I wouldn't have called Donoso going out. I wouldn't have called Berezne going out. And it's a very difficult one to call. But, you know, there's some guys in there who, again, have put some great performances in. Matthias van Erven, he'll be great, delighted to get through to Q2. Sort of struggled so far, but he'll be looking to get a return to form here as well. Pedreño, good performance as well. Tom Manley, you have to say as well, his first time back in the championship and straight through to Q2. Always one to watch. Istvan Pukki as well. Certainly one that you cannot ever count out. Remember that shock victory he took in Spa from absolutely nowhere. Definitely one to watch as well. To a former winner in the form of him as well. But still plenty to keep our eyes on in Q2. You can expect these to be used tyre runs in some fashion. Some guys may decide to opt to go on a new set. Jarno, of course, setting the fastest first sector anyway so far. But that's immediately beaten by Patrick Schipos. And again, he was stellar early on in Kota in qualifying. But seems to be more consistently up there now.
Yeah, he does, and obviously a PSGL winner already himself, as well as Jarno Opmeer makes his way up towards the line. Of course, he'll set the first time at 1:08, but that's going to be surpassed by nearly 0.4 of a second by Patrick Schipos. Ruben Pedreño going third fastest as well. The time's coming in thick and fast. Matthias van Erven also coming up towards the line. Another Dutchman who is certainly very successful at this portion of the game. Otis Lawrence now goes second fastest. Barry Burraman now takes his place at second fastest as well. Matthias van Erven, 23.8, 23.5, and in the final sector at 20.8, enough to put him third fastest here at this point as well. More and more times flicking through. Brendan Lee, as now Marcel Kiefer goes second fastest. Lee down to third, so the time's coming in thick and fast, and again, not able though to topple Patrick Schipos as Tom Manley goes P2.
Yeah, Schipos' early time, 1 minute 8.0 is the first. We had 1 minute 7s in Q1, so you can expect these times to get quicker and quicker. Dylan Warren going to back out of his lap, come straight back into the pit lane. So it was interesting first couple of laps right there. Patrick Schipos straight away. Tom Manley in the middle again. You've got loads on a 1 minute 8.2 and 3. So currently Ruben Pedreño is the man who's on the cusp there on a 1 minute 8.4. But you can expect those 8.4s. They'll certainly be on used sets of tyres, so don't take those as the pace as well. And even guys like Barry Borman, remember Q1, he did a 1 minute 7.9, as did Luke Smith. So these are all going to be the times to sort of keep your eyes on, but don't take them as the initial pace. If Patrick Schipos did that time on a set of old tyres, then I would be concerned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think obviously it is a challenge at this point. We are going back to some of the times as well. I mean, I'm looking up at the sharp end. Schipos, of course, nestling in the fastest time, but Brendan Lee did put in the fastest third sector on that previous run. Only enough to go fourth fastest, though. Marcel Kiefer was certainly looking effervescent at the very top. In comes Tom Manley, and he'll come into the pit lane himself as well. Ruben Pedreño. Now, he's retired, Jack, so we've lost Pedreño.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure what's happened with Pedreño there, but he's had to retire from the session, leave and come back, so he's obviously had some sort of technical failure of some kind. But at the moment, he's in Q3 for the moment, but I don't think he's going to be able to stay there, because you've got Wilson Hughes behind, Philip Preschnader, Luke Smith, Istvan Pukki in the morning. Istvan Pukki has not come out onto the circuit yet, so he's waiting and not bothering to go for a used tyre run. It looks like he had a game crash, actually, just hearing from Ruben Pedreño. So he's unfortunately been the victim of the game crash cycle. But still, he should start at least 15th, if that's any consolation to him. But he's currently in Q3 for the moment, but I don't think he's going to be able to stay there somehow. But Wilson Hughes currently on the cusp. He'll be looking to get through to Q3 for another time. Very consistent so far this season. Philip Preschnader made his first appearance this season last time out. Got through to Q3, I think he would say unexpectedly, but seems he's found some form again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Marcel Kiefer, who has certainly struggled last season, didn't have the best of runs in F1 esports, but since moving from Racing Point to Red Bull, where of course then he would end up at Mercedes for the oncoming F1 esports season, we're now going to see him join up with Jarno Opmeer and contend against the likes of Lucas Blakely, who was his former teammate back at Racing Point as well, just after they were named from the old Force India team from back in the day. And since joining Red Bull, he would, of course, win the team's championship in F1 esports with Freddie Rasmussen at his side as well. But a very different complexion heading into 2023. There's Matthias van Erven, who, of course, partnering Thomas Ronhaar last season, will once again be on the side of Thomas Ronhaar, and that of Brendan Lee as well, former champion, of course, formerly of Mercedes as well, a two-time champion, taking it in its inception back in 2017, following it up with his first Mercedes win back in 2018 as well. Two former champions, Jarno Opmeer and Brendan Lee, currently sharing the two-time F1 esports champ accolade. No one has yet to gone 3 times, and certainly no one has come back to be a 3-time F1 esports champion. Neither have they come back from winning one and missing out on one the following season, yet to come back and win another. So still many records to be broken in the world of F1 esports. Can Jarno as well lay claim to a 4th PSGL title, or will it be Lucas Blakely on his return eventually when he comes back to take his 2nd title? Matthias van Erven now hurtles down through towards turn 1. And he's going to look to land in yet another blow this time around. Obviously now the times to beat at the very top, a 108.051. We could yet see a 107. Tom Manley in 2nd place. just under a tenth of a second in behind as well, as we're seeing certainly the cars make their way through. But Kiefer into third. Can anyone beat Sheepos, Jack?
It's going to be tricky, of course, but we did see 107.9s, and Matthias van Erven's just gone the purple first sector. So, again, we are going to see very quick improvements. So, we had 1 minute 7.9 from Luke Smith in the first part of qualifying. So, let's see if anybody can eclipse that. It's all about being in the top 10 at the end of this session as well. But Matthias van Erven will be the first man to get these runs of Q2 underway. These will be on new tyres. We'll see what he's going to be able to do. Sector 2, he's purple again for Matthias van Erven. So, looking really good for the moment, but we'll see if anybody else behind him might be improving soon. Coming up to the second to last corner, chucks it in up towards the banked final corner here at Zandvoort. DRS open, hugging the inside all the way to the line here. Matthias van Erven, what is he going to be able to do? It might be fastest. Let's see as he crosses the line. It nearly is. 5,000ths of a second is all it was. But Luke Smith steals it at 1 minute 7.827. Fastest time so far. Immediately eclipsed, though, by Ferrari's Barry Borman, 1 minute 7.771. So now we're getting all into the 1 minute 7s. Brendan Lee up to P3 on a 7.8, and then we have another one popping in there. Wilson Hughes on a 7.9 is the next car to cross the line. Otis Lawrence goes in there on a 7.8, so it's going to get very, very close across the board here. Danny Moreno next up is crossing the line now, also does a 1 minute 7.873, so they're all on 1 minute 7s, almost in that top 5, top 6, so we expect big improvements here.
Yeah, absolutely. I just saw Brendan Lee made a little mistake heading through the final sector. It was purple in the first 2 sectors as well. So Brendan Lee has found a little bit of pace. Jarno Watmere as well out on track. Purple in the first sector. Second sector is green as well. 23.6 in the first, 23.5 in the second. Here comes the Flying Dutchman. Goes 7th fastest. Not quite enough to trample the top end, but still lay claim to a purple first sector. He's got the pace at that segment of the track. Makes you wonder if he is carrying less downforce than perhaps some other drivers out on circuit.
Could be, absolutely. Patrick Sepos was on a lap but backs out of it. Anybody else keeping an eye here? Philip Preschnader, no, he's not on a lap at the moment, on a cool down lap. Dylan Warren, Isfan Pookie, they're on their way back into the pits for the moment. So it's Barry Bormans, currently the fastest in Q2. And currently the man on the cusp is Matthias van Erven on a 1 minute 8.0. This could be super, super close. Sepos didn't quite get the lap in that he wanted. He was sort of about a 10th down in the first sector. Opted to come back into the pits, and he's going to have another go. So the question is now, does Barry Borman feel that he's safe on a 1 minute 7.7? Or does he feel like he's going to have to come out again? On a track this short and a gap that small, I have a feeling he's going to need to come out again.
No, I think he might have to. 107.771, a hellacious time, certainly for many. The top 7 all in the 107s at this point, and only mere fragments. I think Barry Burman might be a little bit perturbed about not going out again. He'll probably want to go out and at least set one more run. Obviously, when it comes down to the final couple of minutes, the track will obviously generate, it'll get higher in terms of temperature, and they'll find more grip around this track. And I reckon there's more in it for the likes of Jarno Watmere, not to mention further back Tom Manley, who has been so good in the past 2 sessions as well. Dylan Warren, of course, we'd expect him to perhaps find something more after what we saw in Q1. Istvan Pukki, who is not yet to set a lap, and is a former PSGL race winner as well. He's going to look to come back out again and set at least 1 lap to his name, and he's only going to have 1 chance, Jack. Can you imagine the pressure that Pukki's under right now?
Yeah, absolutely. He will certainly be under pressure, but he does deliver under it. So we'll see if he's going to be able to do that. The Hungarian, the one-time race winner in PSGL, and of course he didn't do that the easy way either. He came from way outside the top 10 to take that victory in the end as well. Safety car, mixed conditions, all that kind of stuff. Threw it all his way. So there's plenty that could still happen here. But Matthias van Erven out on the track for the moment, and he is the man currently in P10, so in Q3, but he is going to need a big improvement here. 1 minute 8.0 will certainly not be enough. Well, there's your answer. Barry Borman, does he feel he's safe? Yes, he does, on a 1 minute 7.771. So probably he is, I'm sure, but again, I wouldn't have the bravery to do that. But obviously, of course, he has his engineer will be keeping an eye on everything as well. They'll be working everything out in the background. Brendan Lee out on the circuit as well. Took a great result home from Kota as well. Is consistently back up at the front end where we like to see him fighting, of course, Brendan Lee. and more to come as well. Now, Luke Smith has decided to retire on a 7.82. Is that too early, I wonder?
Do you have to wonder? Might be a bit early. We'll have to wait and see. Dylan Warren now makes his way out. Pookie as well in 15th place. I've just got my eyes peeled here, of course, on Matthias van Erven, just keeping himself measured in terms of his outlap as he now makes his way down through towards the next section. Now, going back to Barry Burremand, of course, taking that retirement. Luke Smith taking that decision to retire as well. You do have to wonder whether he might have put himself in a little bit of jeopardy, as you so rightly say, Jack. 107.827 is certainly not ideal at all. Matthias van Erven now making his way around the final corner now. Marcel Kiefer also out on his run too, as we now see Van Erven, who holds on to that final place that will take you through to Q3. If you fall outside of that 10th place, you will be eliminated from qualifying. Currently, Tom Manley, Kiefer, Pedreño is going to be out. Warren and Pookie as well. They're currently sat in that bottom 5. Van Erven now making his way through that hairpin section, making his way through now towards the next sequence of slalom, heading out of turn 3, 4, 5, and turn 6 as well. He's going to beckon into sector 2, and he has gone faster by just over 1/10 of a second as well. He'll now cruise through turn 6, 7, 8, and 9 very shortly as well, hugging that inside as he makes his way through box 9 corner and then through box 10 as well, as he now makes his way down the next straight, which will lead him towards the chicane at Hans Ernest Bocht as well, as now they make their way down now towards this very, very, very stringent section. You harsh on the brakes, cut to the inside, back out again, use some of the curb on exit as well, as he now makes his way down towards the final 2 bends on this circuit. DRS will be primed on the outset of zone 2 now, as he makes his way through turn 14. Matthias van Erven looking for a jettison out of P10, comes across the line, 4th fastest for Matthias van Erven, but already Brendan Lee, 3rd fastest, taking it away from him though, has held on to 3rd place at least for now. But what about the man in 10th? Prejnader has gone purple, or should I say he hasn't gone purple, Sheepos purple in the first sector, Jack.
Yeah, Shipos was looking really good there as he comes across the line to begin his time right now. We've got a couple more still to come through here as we try to find the cars. It's incredibly difficult to try to find them here. István Pookie with his only time goes 2nd fastest, his only time effort. And István Pookie for the moment goes through. Tom Manley just misses out. He sets the same time as Jarno Watmir, but because Jarno sets it first, it means he's eliminated. That is not what he wanted in the end of this qualifying session. Wilson Hughes on his way into the pit lane now as well. There's a couple more still to come. Is anybody else on an improvement? Sipos has backed out. He's going to be out of qualifying. Jarno Watmir is on his way up to the line right now. He's currently in the drop zone. Does he get himself out? He does. 1:07.847 for him. So only one man can displace anybody. Dylan Warren, no, he backs out of it. So that is the end of qualifying, and quite a shock few exits there, I have to say. Patrick Sipos getting eliminated. Wilson Hughes also eliminated from Q2, and Tom Manley also not making it. Pedreño, of course, retired, and Dylan Warren not making it through. So quite shocking stuff there, but with his only effort, George, István Pookie 2nd fastest.
Absolutely, a tremendous time. We did say how much bottle does the man have. He's just gone 2nd fastest without even setting a banker lap. Extraordinary from István Pookie. Of course, a man who has competed at the highest level. Of course, a winner here in PSGL in the F1 Championship too. We're definitely not counting him out, getting a big result here as well, as they now wheel Matthias van Erven's car into the pits. But incidentally, if you're Tom Manley right now, Jack, you must be absolutely distraught. Purple in that 3rd sector, yet you still get eliminated.
Yeah, it was frustrating for him because he did set the same time as Jarno did, but Jarno, of course, set the time first. So on that regard, Jarno gets the benefit from that, and there was P11 in the end, it's P12 for where Tom Manley will start. So Q3 on the way, but Barry Burremand topping the session there. Only man who was able to dip into the 1:07.7. István Pookie 2nd fastest, and then you have Luke Smith 0.02 of a second back. A further 0.03 back was Brendan Lee, and then you have Jarno Watmir, Matthias van Erven, Otis Lawrence, Danny Moreno, Marcel Kiefer, and Philip Presteder. All of them separated by 1/10 and a bit. That's all here in qualifying. Wilson Hughes, Tom Manley, Patrick Sipos, Ruben Pedreño, and Dylan Warren eliminated. But have a look at that. 1/10 and almost under 1/10 and a half was the difference between first and being eliminated from qualifying.
Absolutely incredible. A stellar performance, though, from the likes of Istvan Pukki. Barry Burman, your current PSGL champion, going fastest in Q2 as well, bringing back some of that fast-paced form that we have come to expect from here. Certainly not necessarily known as to what his pace like is around a place like Zandvoort, but no, going off what we're seeing in qualifying, he certainly has no issue. But in terms of a race, it's a vastly different prospect, and strategy can be a huge element at Zandvoort, can't it, Jack?
Certainly can, and we've seen what the weather has done here in previous seasons as well. If we hark back to the time when Joni Tormela took that shock win from seemingly nowhere, the rain came down very, very hard, switching over to intermediate tyres, and you had the two AlphaTauris of Sebastian Job and Joni Tormela, and the pad goat Louis Welch coming through for a podium in that one. So we can't discount anything at all from the weather situation here at Zandvoort, as we've seen in previous seasons. But by statistics-wise, if it's dry, Jarno will win here at Zandvoort, because he's taken 2 out of 3 victories here, and the one time he didn't win was when it was wet. So we'll wait and see if those statistics hold up. But it does tend to go very well around here. But pace-wise, it's hard to tell at the moment who's got the ultimate pace, but it just seems to me Barry Bormand in qualifying is imperious.
Does seem that way. His one-lap pace has been extraordinary. The question is, can he do the same again where it matters? Because now we have the pole shootout, folks at home. Now, let us know in the live chat as to who you think is going to get pole position here in this final session of qualifying. This, of course, deciding who will take that top spot as we grid up for the race as well. So let us know your predictions for pole. Jack, I'm going to throw it over to you. Who do you think is going to take it?
I'm going to go with Barry Bormand, I think. I know it's an easy one, but I really think it's going to be Barry Bormand. He just seems to have that little edge over everybody else in qualifying so far. So Barry Bormand, I mean, he has the most pole positions historically in PSGL. So in that regard, he's the statistics favourite.
Well, I can tell you this now, folks. Reading from your comments in the chat, we got Otmir says Bench, Otis says Derwin, Pukki says Justin De Silva, as well as Otis. As well as getting a few looks as well. Marcel Kiefer gets a nod from Dior as well. Jarno from Abdul. We've got Otis will win, says Julius. We've got Jarno, says Avatar. Pukki says Karate. We've got Jarno from Josiah Russell. Barry P1, Pukki P2, Jarno P3. It's Alex the Fire Gamer going for a really bold prediction here as well. Jarno Otmir says Rennie. Further down as well, Dwight Chow saying Barry. Jarno, we got Moreno as well. Oli saying Marcel. Whoever qualified P20 is winning, says Knight. Well, that's very bold, but certainly I might take you up on that, because Otis did do that back at Kota to a certain degree. Started 18th, finished at the very front. Take the penalty out the equation, though, as well. We're seeing as well more votes for Otis, plenty more. Ron Haar missing again, he certainly is. Jarno the Goat, Kiefer, plenty of names right through now, but now we get underway. Matthias van Erven, the first car out on track here in qualifying, very soon to get his first lap underway. And here now with 8 minutes and 50 still to go, they've got 2 laps max, Jack Canan.
Yeah, good to see Matthias back in Q3 as well. It's been a little while since we've seen him make it through into the final part of qualifying. I'm sure he'll be very, very pleased with that. Of course, driving for Alfa Romeo. Not that you can tell, of course, with these liveries, but he is part of that Alfa Romeo lineup alongside Brendan Lee and Thomas Ronnar. But there's still plenty that can happen here. So just having a look here at who has had pole positions before. Jarno has taken pole here before. Barry has, of course, 16 pole positions to his name. Otis Lawrence has a pole position. Matthias van Erven does not. Brendan Lee, as far as I remember, does not. Luke Smith does. Danny Moreno does. Istvan Pukki does not have a pole position. And Philip Preschneider, as far as I remember, he has a race win, but he does not have a pole position. But again, second week in a row, Philip Preschneider back through to Q3, so great to see him on form.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Pukki now back yet again, and this time at the front order of things in terms of the current listing in the order. The question is, will it remain that way come the end of this? We're getting word from Jona Martins as well. No 50-meter board in the middle sector, so he believes that that's going to cause a few complications. So there we go. Keep your eyes peeled. We could be seeing a very unorthodox P1 here in Q3. Let's find out. Matthias van Erven makes his way down the straight now. The first car that will set a lap, of course, was crawling heading through that final sector. Let's right on board here with Matthias van Erven as he makes his way down through towards turn 1. Of course, breaking in after the 50-meter board, taking all the curve on the outset as well. Climbs through the hillside at second and turn 3 as well. Makes his way through in third, coming out of the boxed corner, Hugenholz box, round the Hunza rug and down through towards the Schlaviat very shortly as well. Comes out of turn 6, down through towards turn 7, and will then make it, or certainly send it, heading through this middle sector once again through turns 8 and 9. Turns back on himself there before he then reaches turn 10. He'll then hit the curb then once again prior to the 100 and curves the car around in 4th gear. Back to the floor again as now the DRS opens up for him, heading down through towards turns 11 and 12. This is where you meet sector 3 here for the first time in your flying lap. Makes his way now through the next left, using all the throttle on the exit of the corner, where you then visit turn 13 before 14, heading through now out of the Kumo corner, the Aree as well, boxed bend as he now hurtles through, uses all the track, the middle of the road, in comes Matthias van Erven, and that's a 107.831. Not a bad lap, but we've seen better, Jack.
That's a very good lap from Matthias van Erven. The fastest time was a 1:07.7 from Barry Borman. I can tell you Barry is a 10th up on Matthias through that sector. There's Brendan Lee, 1:07.70. Barry Borman, 1:07.602. Finds a 10th of a second in that middle sector. Epic stuff from the Ferrari Esports driver, but Brendan Lee right in there. Jarno Watmir P3, but just gets displaced by Istvan Pukki. 1:07.721 for the Hungarian. More cars still to cross the line. Luke Smith also does a 1:07.728. Next up, Philip Preschneider will cross the line and will do a 1:08.2 for the moment. So that leaves Otis Lawrence, the last car to set a first initial time, come out of the final corner. He started 17th last week, so it's an improvement immediately as he heads up towards the start-finish line. Looks good for the young Welshman. Goes 6th fastest. Also a 1:07.752, just behind Jarno Watmir. But how about that for Barry Borman? He's found a whole 10th on everybody else.
Incredible. That's a whole 100th between that of Lawrence and Otmir. But Buraman back again to the top. You do get the feeling, Jack, you get those moments where drivers win championships, right? And it breaks the cork in the bottle. It sort of allows the water to flow freely. You sort of see it here from Barry Buraman, who has been constantly a runner-up, should we say. The top 3 all the way from season 27 right through 28. Of course, 28 didn't necessarily compete, but you include the likes of 30 and 31. Top 3 in the championship. Broke his duck to win the title last season in PSGL. Is that all it took for him to become a formidable foe and be consistent up at the sharp end?
I mean, it could be, because again, that is an epic time for Barry Borman. Now, of course, we have to wait to see if anybody else can respond to that. I'm sure this will be where people can find that'll be the target for them, but nailed the lap immediately for Barry Borman. Brendan Lee, though, front row start currently for Brendan Lee. I'm sure he'd like to stay there. Istvan Pukki on the second row of the grid as well for the Hungarian. Luke Smith also there. Jarno Watmir, Otis Lawrence. Matthias van Erven, Danny Moreno, Marcel Kiefer. You'd imagine Marcel's got a bit more pace in his car, so we'll wait to see what he can deliver. And Philip Preschneider certainly has more in the tank for that. So that's the first runs of Q3, and this is now the calm before the storm, but huge marker laid down by Barry Borman, delivered on the first lap. And we'll see now if he can find any more time. It'll be an epic performance and take his 17th pole position in PSGL so far. Since we've begun in season 27, but it's looking like a bit of a spicy grid currently forming up with Barry on the front. And the question is, George, now that we've voided round 1 and 2 points-wise, if Barry wins this again, does this count as a season opener win again?
You do have to wonder, because we're going back to 0 in terms of the points, and we talk about Barry Buraman's start of the season form. I mean, we hark back to season 32-33, where, of course, he would go on to win the title. He won the first 2 races that season as well. Usually it's the first 3. Going back then to season 27, where he would take the opening 3 wins once again as well. And then further back, he took the opening round victory back in season 31. He did exactly the same in season 30 when we went racing at Portimao in the opening round of the season. Surely not again, Jack.
I mean, it wouldn't count in the form of, well, the first 2 rounds did happen,
but in terms of point scoring rounds, though, it would.
Points scoring rounds. Yeah, it would. So let's wait and see, because stats-wise, that would really make it certainly an interesting one. But of course, if you aren't aware, Barry Borman has basically won every single season opener except one from since we began back in season 27. Was broken this year by Lucas Blakely in the opening round. So we will see if anybody else can get rid of, not get rid of him, but you know what I mean, up at the front end. But we'll see. It does tend to, season openers / fresh point scoring rounds do tend to go well for Barry Bormand, and of course he is the only man. He has the longest pole streak of anybody as well. He took 4 pole positions in a row back at the start of season 27 as well. Nobody could beat him. So we'll see if anybody can do it now. But the final runs of Q3 getting underway. Matthias van Erven launched himself out of the final corner. Currently on for a best start so far this season. Let's see if he gets up further up.
Yep, let's wait and see, folks. Just to explain again, 5-place grid penalty for Brendan Lee. And that's for illegal blocking. Again, it rears its ugly head. We saw the same happen to Wilson Hughes back in Spain. Of course, when we had our very first social event. But once again, it's come a cropper and it's gone to Brendan Lee this time around, who is going to be absolutely gutted, because what that does mean is that he'll be starting P7 should he stay in second place. So there we have it, folks at home. That is the punishment delivered to that of Brendan Lee. Let's wait and see what happens now as Matthias van Erven heads through the second sector. Now, just to obviously recount on what we said earlier on, folks, the first 2 rounds of the PSGL Season 34 Championship, they have been obviously nullified. Essentially no more than social races as Jarno Watmir retires from the session as well. Now, is that a bin on track, or is that something that he's decided to do in the, well, certainly when he's in the pits? We'll have to find out. It looks like he might have lost it, as now we see them make their way through the final sector. Matthias van Erven now heading through the final bend. Oh, he's lost it. Goodness me, he's out of the session. That's another one we've lost. Matthias van Erven out of qualifying in absolutely bizarre fashion. Wow. And that's another one we've lost, but Barry Burman already purple in that first sector, Jack. He's looking strong.
He is, but Marcel Kiefer's just gone purple in the middle sector. So here comes Marcel Kiefer up to the start-finish line. What does the German do? And he goes to 7th fastest. Didn't quite get that final sector together, but bizarre from Matthias van Erven. He was right on the limit. He was fastest through the first sector, and unfortunately didn't get it together coming through there. But there's now Brendan Lee with that penalty. What a shocker for him as he comes up to the start-finish line. Does he improve his time? He does, but it's not enough to displace Barry Borman, who's going even faster again. Here comes Barry Borman. What is it for the Iranian driver? It's a 7.5. He finds even more when surely there wasn't any more to find. Otis Lawrence will come across the line to go 3rd fastest. Moreno, where does he go? It's a front row for Danny Moreno so far. Brilliant stuff from the Spanish driver. Isfan Pukki cannot improve on P5. More still to come. Preschdinder goes P9. Luke Smith crosses the line, 3rd fastest for Luke Smith. But that is the end of Q3, and what an epic lap from Barry Bormand, 10th and a bit faster than Danny Moreno, who returns to the front row. But bizarre session right there here in PSGL. We had Jarno go off in turn 1, Matthias van Erven off in the final corner, but imperious form, his 17th pole position in PSGL. Back on pole position is Barry Bormand.
We got news, Jack. Jarno's pedal has broken. Jarno's brake pedal. No. He has had it snapped. Apparently, it is properly broken, and therefore it could count him out tonight's race unless he can get that repaired prior to us going to the grid. Barry Burman on top, though, 107.520, up at the sharp end, improving on what was already a stellar lap time. Danny Moreno, though, the machine is back, 2nd fastest in a front row spot, moving from Mercedes to McLaren. Is this the return? A massive return for Danny Moreno, Jack Canan.
It is, and remember, of course, Brendan Lee's P4, but he will have to serve that 5-place penalty because we can't restart, because that would change the pit boxes that we've got as well. This is the bizarre circumstance that we're operating in, but the drivers agreed to not restart if drivers got penalties in qualifying for blocking. It's the unfortunate scenario we're in, so Brendan Lee will have to serve that penalty for this one, 5-place grid penalty. So Otis Lawrence will move up to P4, but it's Barry Bormand by some margin, 10th and a bit of a second over Danny Moreno. Great to see him up back on the front row again here in PSGL. Luke Smith, again, P3 up here. Brendan Lee qualifies P4, but he'll drop down the order down to P9 once with that penalty. So Otis Lawrence will move up. Isfan Pukki will move up. Jarno Watmir will move up, but snapped brake pedal for the moment, so we don't know if he's even going to take the start. Marcel Kiefer, Philip Preschneider, and Matthias van Erven are those for the moment. So we wait and see if we have news if Jarno will be able to take the start, but I know he's had issues with that brake pedal before, and unfortunately it seems that he's done a Danny Berezne and pressed it too hard.
He certainly has. It looks like he's come unstuck for the Flying Dutchman, but folks, we'll be right back. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Well, welcome back, folks. After what can only be described as a hectic qualifying, we have actually got the race about to get underway here. All 5 lights are indeed lit. And it is pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 go. And certainly they make their way down towards turn 1. Barry Burman leads the way. Moreno side by side immediately with Luke Smith as they crawl through the first sector. Moreno forced to forfeit as Luke Smith goes to the top here at the right race start and the immediate start. Wilson Hughes as well now toe-to-toe with Philip Preschneider. They come through now. Turn 6, 7, very nearly 8 as well. Wilson Hughes fighting back off Philip Preschneider as they peel down through the Hunzerug, through the Sloviak corner. Matthias van Erven also battling with Dylan Warren, but Barry Burman leads Jack Canan.
Absolutely, Jarno was not able to get that pedal fixed, of course, with no formation lap. We've very little time to turn around here, so Barry Borman leads the race. Luke Smith in P2, Danny Moreno P3. Great start from Luke Smith, was opportunistic around the outside in towards turn 1 and got up the inside of Danny Moreno into P2 and P3. Good start made by Marcel Kiefer as well, he's up to P6. Wilson Hughes in P7, Preschneider, Tom Manley made a good start as well. He's P9, so now we'll have to take a look at everything else that is going on around here as well. Differing strategies, mixing it up. Barry Borman on the mediums. Luke Smith, he's on the soft compound tyre. Otis Lawrence on the attack as well. Gets himself past Danny Moreno. And now up the front as well. Luke Smith challenging Barry Borman here. He needs to make these soft tyres work early on as he comes through turn 3 into turn 4 for the moment. But differing strategies. Isfan Pookie and Marcel Kiefer on the hard compound tyres as well as they loop their way around as well. But Luke Smith on the attack early on and a charging Otis Lawrence to boot as well.
It certainly is. Ruben Pedreño also out at this point as well. DNFing heading through the first sector on lap 2 of 36, but Burman still leads at the front end as well. Wilson Hughes also gaining places as he looks to charge now on Marcel Kiefer as now they make their way through the middle sector now, peeling through the next left. But certainly Hughes doing his utmost to stay right in the drag of Marcel Kiefer. Of course, here on lap 2 of 36, plenty more to come at the sharp end as well, though. Luke Smith still looking exceedingly quick. Hughes once again within 2/10, this time on Marcel Kiefer as they make their way in towards the final sector proper, heading through the final 2 bends of 13 and 14. This will certainly give Smith a chance to get in the slipstream and perhaps land a charge as well. Just look at the straight line speed there on Luke Smith's car. They run side by side now as they make their way down towards turn 1. The battle for the lead now kicking off already as Barry Burman has to forfeit. The Iranian giving up that first place ahead of that of Luke Smith, who now leads here at Zandvoort.
Absolutely, and then Wilson Hughes trying to challenge Marcel Kiefer as well around the outside of the banked turn 3. Tries to get through. He's on the soft tyres. He has to make it work. Car slow in the first sector as well. Gets back going again, but not ideal for Wilson Hughes trying to get by there. But he had to secede the position going through turn 3. Marcel had the inside line, and Marcel is on the hard tyres as well. So trying a different strategy here. Luke Smith though leads this race. Barry Borman second on the medium tyres. and Otis Lawrence in P3 on those softs as well will try to make his way through. Danny Moreno, P4 on the mediums. Istvan Pukki and Marcel Kiefer, they're in P5 and P6 on the hard compound tyres. Then you got Wilson Hughes, Philip Preschner, Dylan Warren all on softs, and Tom Manley in P10 on the hard tyres. So a mix-up in strategies up here as well. But we remember from Kota, Barry Bormand, he was on the harder compound tyres, stuck with the top guys despite that, so that he'll do his best now to try and stick with Luke Smith as much as he can. And I expect plenty of chopping and changing here. Luke Smith almost defending the inside, but Barry sort of shaking the wheel to sort of say, I'm not going to pass you, you can carry on. But I don't think he's going to let Otis Lawrence through as easily.
No, Jake Benham as well going up ahead of Matthias van Erven, heading through turn 1. Matthias having to give up the position to that of the Mercedes driver. And certainly the All-Star Jake Benham now rising up the order. P11, at least for now. Matthias now down to P12 as they chase each other heading through the first sector. Benham's now got to try and get after the back of Tom Manley's car that currently sits P10. But just look at Van Erven once again right on the rear of that Mercedes. As I say Mercedes, it is the Mercedes colouring. Of course, Mercedes eSports have their own colour scheme in mind when it comes to eSports cars, because this is a familiar shade that you tend to see. Oh, Brendan Lee out of the race as well. That's a DNF for the two-time F1 eSports champion, and two-time eSports champions have been evicted from this race already. Otmir out, Brendan Lee out as well. Incredible scenes here as now the cars make their way through the latter sector now. Heading through, it's still Luke Smith out on top, and he's already cleared Barry Burroman by nearly a second in fact, because Otis Lawrence now in second place. Danny Moreno also looking to make a charge as well in fourth as they now make their way down. A look from Moreno as he has a look down the inside at turn 1. Can't find a way through, but they're all coming together, not afraid of making the big moves early on, Jack.
Yeah, Barry actually made an error in Sector 2 and let Otis Lawrence just slip straight up the inside. So again, he's let the soft guys go, so that's the main thing. But his nearest rival now is Danny Moreno right behind him in P4 on the same strategy. As you can see, Wilson Hughes still trying to get through on Marcel Kiefer, but he has the problem of a certain Philip Preschner really challenging him. Coming through turn 5 into turn 6 they come now, chucking it through. Preschner looking revitalised in there. But I have to say, so far, Istvan Pukki and Marcel Kiefer are doing an excellent job. They're on the hards, sticking with these guys up the front. So Istvan Pukki, the lead driver on the hard compound tyres, and we've got the rest of them then behind on softs compared to the rest. So they're having a tough time getting by these hard runners, but still it's Luke Smith who leads on the softs. Barry Borman P3 on the medium tyres, as is Danny Moreno also on the mediums. But Luke Smith trying to break away here as they come up towards turn number 1 again. Barry Borman being very patient here. He knows how to lead races, he knows how to control races, and he knows he's on a different strategy here. He knows these guys are going to have to pit earlier, but he will have to bide his time as he did in Kota. So everybody's settling down now, but it is nice to see that guys are trying different strategies, because if we go back to the last game cycle, everybody would have been on the hards. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a real change-up, really, in terms of strategy. Of course, we've seen two sets of soft tyres right at the front end. Just look at Barry Burman, though, already within a tenth, very nearly within half a tenth as well as he closes up on Otis Lawrence. Of course, these two very feisty competitors. Barry Burman also a very experienced driver. Otis still in the beginnings of his career, getting pushed around by Danny Moreno as well. So sandwiched between these two cars as they make their way through this next left-hander. Otis Lawrence doing very well to hold on to his position right now, but DRS now for Barry Burman could prove fruitful as they make their way in towards the chicane. Hasn't chose to make the move yet. Burman opts to back out of it and waits, because he will have DRS heading down the home straight. A little wiggle there from Otis Lawrence's rear wing as you can then see the cars make their way through 13 and 14 and get a little twitch over the curb. Is Lawrence getting restless? Because here comes Barry Burman, the current champion now, makes his way down through towards turn 1. Maybe he'll challenge that of Luke Smith as well. Not quite. Does take second place, so Burman up into second. There's been a bit of an issue for Dylan Warren. He's in the gravel in turn 1, so he's had to get going again. Bit of a shame for Dylan, but he has to, unfortunately, I didn't quite see what happened there, but he was facing the wrong way in the gravel trap. But Barry Borman back on the attack on Otis Lawrence. So it seems now these mediums starting to come alive here, because Moreno's starting to challenge at the back of Otis Lawrence as well. And we'll see how these two will be able to work. Of course, these part of the same sort of crew, so we'll see how this is going to work out. But Barry looking racier now in the mediums. The soft starting to die off a little bit here, so the mediums starting to come into effect. and we'll see how quickly Barry can clear Luke Smith here. He's up behind him with the DRS in the middle sector. Will he go for it here? Surely not into the arena, but he's going to be definitely lining him up in towards turn 1, challenging the rear of what should be an Alpine, but of course we're in the F1 World Car because of the tyre glitch here. Moreno lining up Otis Lawrence at the same time as well. I think there could be 2 moves going on here out of the final corner. Barry Bormand all over the rear of Luke Smith towards turn 1. No fight put up by Luke Smith here, but there might be one put up by the cars behind here as Moreno starts to line it up here. Lawrence trying to find a gap to go through as well as he goes. Simon's contact made.
Oh, no.
Otis Lawrence into the back of Bormand. They carry on as they go through turn 1. Istvan Pukki's found a gap to go through and slots through into third place, and that was all it took. Barry got a little hit in the rear by Otis Lawrence in towards turn 1, drops down to P4. Istvan Pukki says thank you very much, I'll have that.
Absolutely bewildering scenes, and certainly Barry Burman reduced out of 4th place. Pukki up to 3rd. Moreno now holding on to 2nd, with Luke Smith now holding on to the lead of the race. As they come through the mid-sector, there's Wilson Hughes, who was right in the midst of that, actually lost out of place in that fight, was actually challenging around the outside as they made their way through the bank corners. Philip Presneda now also looking like he's going to make a move. Forced out wide though, in his contact between him and Hughes. Manley now goes through. He's up to 8th, Manley, as now Hughes looks to try and gain on Otis Lawrence. The gap now stagnant at 0.2 of a second, but Hughes still perseveres on those soft tyres.
Absolutely, so great stuff by Tom Manley, making his way through on these hard tyres as the softs start to die off, but great opportunistic driving from Istvan Pukki. Chose the right line at the right time and went round the outside of 2 cars into turn 1. Marcel Kiefer fancies a chance now as well, up behind Barry Borman in towards turn 1, has a little look and forces Borman into a mistake, sells the dummy. Marcel Kiefer, he's in the wall. Marcel Kiefer's into the wall, side by side contact with Barry Borman, forced the error. Virtual safety car is deployed due to that instant as well, and what is happening in this race? It's all kicked off side by side with Barry Borman and Marcel Kiefer speared off into the outside wall. That was such strange contact, I thought, as well, as they came through the middle part of the corner, but at the same time Matthias van Erven retiring from the race, and that's the first time we've seen the virtual safety car in this championship.
Yeah, VSC out for the first time here in PSGL, certainly this season, as we now see Luke Smith make his way through the middle sector as well. Moreno in 2nd, Pukki in 3rd. What would it mean Istvan Pukki to take another big result here on hard tyres, Jack, but yet still in the top 3? That'll give him one hellacious advantage. Of course, he can swap on to a set of the softs perhaps late on. We'll have to wait and see whether he does choose that strat. I'm pretty sure he probably will. Also, not forgetting Tom Manley, who's on the hards as well. What about those on the medium tyres? What will they decide to do later on? Will they take those tyres for as long as possible, then perhaps launch on the softs? Let's sit tight and wait and see. Luke Smith, though, who's currently leading the way, will not be pleased with this VSC continuing to certainly lay the pace on this race, because he'll want to try and break the DRS away from Danny Moreno, but that's going to be very, very tricky at this point as we wait for the green flags to wave. And indeed, DRS has now been enabled as now race control sends the cars back on their way through the first sector, and Moreno got a lovely restart as well, heading through the bank corners, coming through the first sector here at Zandvoort, over the top of the crest now. They make their way through the slalom. There's Smith, closely followed by Moreno. Further down, we also have the gap starting to close up. Manley starting to cruise up on Hughes as well. But just look at Moreno, who is back again with so much zealous strength and power. The machine returning to PSGL, and he looks full of form, Jack Cannan.
He is. He's the lead medium runner now, because he had a helping hand with getting Bormand out of his way, and now he has the chance to try and take the race lead for the first time in a long time. Here comes Danny Moreno, DRS open on Luke Smith in towards the arena, has a little look to the inside. He won't go for it there, he'll wait to the main straight, but Luke Smith, he's hung on despite all of this to the race lead on those soft tyres, so he's done a good job to get himself this long into the race. We had Philip Presneder come in to box onto the hard tyres during the virtual safety car, but here comes the machine. Danny Moreno out of the final corner, looks to the inside, and he'll take the race lead here at Zandvoort. And in behind Istvan Pukki, he fancies a chance as well. Here comes Istvan Pukki, the Hungarian, on the hard tyres, inside line on Luke Smith. Will it be another move made? Luke Smith still there on the inside as they come through turn 3, has to give it the position. Istvan Pukki into P2 on the hard tyres, and all of a sudden he's in play.
Certainly is. Pookie now up to second place on the hard tyres as well. Is it the case now that Smith's softs are starting to allay a little bit here? Moreno certainly seems to be in fine fettle. And just look at the grip levels. Pookie still only on 28%, 26 on the rears, 27's on the right, 24 as well on the rear right as well. So Pookie in second, Smith now down to third place after leading at least a small portion of it. Barry Burman still in contention. Remember, he's on the medium tyres as well, so will go that little bit longer than Smith, as well as Otis Lawrence in behind and Wilson Hughes. But what about Tom Manley as well on those hard tyres, still braking very nearly 6/10 and has broken 6/10 on Jake Benham. As now we see Moreno, he's starting to check out, Jack. He's nearly 8/10 clear.
Yeah, he is, because Borman's stuck in the train here. He's not able to get back by again. We've pitter for Luke Smith. In comes Luke Smith, the lead soft runner, into the pits for and he's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits, and that is, it always seems that Luke Smith, his biggest enemy is the pit lane over these past few seasons, and again it strikes 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pits for Luke Smith. Jake Benham also into the pits as well for his stop in this race. So Danny Moreno leads. Isfan Pookie is now second. Barry Boromand is third on those mediums. Otis Lawrence and Wilson Hughes on the softs in P4 and P5. Then you have the rest of the hard runners. Tom Manley up in P6. Patrick Sipos, Danny Beresne, Josh Edo and Luis Welch are in P10 at the moment. So Moreno back out in front. And, well, it's been a while since we've seen him lead a race. And, you know, he didn't have the best season last time, but I'm sure he's loving it out there at the moment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Moreno currently in control. Pookie there in second. Burman still in third. The gap there between Lawrence and Burman as well starting to stretch ever so slightly. Of course, the medium's now surely going to come into play. Now, what's Otis going to do? Is he going to box this lap, obviously, to try and coincide with that of what we just saw from Luke Smith? Let's wait and see. The cars, they make their way down the long straight. And yes, indeed they do. Barry Burman now in third, with Otis Lawrence now beckoning his way into the pits. Wilson Hughes deciding to remain out for yet another lap. So he's got a little bit more to give on the soft tyres. As now Moreno makes his way up through turns 1, 2 and turns 3. Heading around now the bank corners once again here at Zandvoort for the back Pookie. Who's currently sat in second. Barry Burman now once again breathing down his neck here as they head down towards the Sloviak bend now. Luke Smith currently sat in 12th, has gone ahead of Otis Lawrence and remained ahead despite the early pit stop, so he's done well there. Otis Lawrence obviously still has time to find on him as now Marcel Kiefer sets the fastest lap. Despite losing that front wing, he's back on track, Jack, and showing some good pace.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed though with the contact with Barry. It's coming through turn 1. I thought he'd made the move, but the contact to me looked really overstated in a way as they came through turn 1. Of course, we'll have to have a look at it afterwards, but it was interesting to say the least. Barry, though, now wants to get by Isfan Pookie. Still there in P3, despite the war of attrition. He got a little helping hand in the rear end into turn 1 from Otis Lawrence, which gave the chance for Luke Smith to get away a little bit. But now he's in P3, up behind Isfan Pookie. He's got now using the ERS in towards turn 1. Here comes Barry Borman, inside line into turn 1. And Isfan Pookie, I think, knows he doesn't have the tyres to answer that with as they come through turn number 1. At the same time, Tom Manley on the hards gets by Wilson Hughes on those softs. And to tell you what, Wilson has brought those softs a long way. 13 laps on the soft tyres, but now they're starting to fade. And Tom Manley on his way through in P4, trying to make hay while the sun shines here. But now it's Danny Moreno versus Barry Borman, and this is going to be an interesting one. It's been a while since we've seen these two fight.
Has been a while indeed. Moreno still leads the way though. As we said before, former race winner here in PSGL. Of course, formerly of Mercedes as well. Now in the McLaren team, the McLaren setup. And very, very naturally talented. Makes his way down through towards the next chicane once again as they peel on through, heading through the Hans Ernest box before they reach the Kumo corner at turn 13. And following that, they'll make their way through the Ari Ludendijk box as well. So they come through now the final sector. It's still Danny Moreno who's out in front, but Barry Burman starting to peck down at that rear wing now as well. The rapidly fast Iranian goes to the move way before the corner. The machine Danny Moreno has no option but to allay P1, and it's Burman now who takes the lead here on lap 15.
Yeah, that was great stuff. Moreno knew he didn't need to fight it, didn't want to cost themselves time, so he's quite happy to let Barry back to the lead here. Moreno going to follow suit. And Istvan Pukki, though, he's the threat here on the hards. And Jake Benham is at the fastest lap of the race on hards. So that's interesting from Jake down in P15 at the moment. So we're at lap 15 of 36. So not long to... Again, we're approaching the half distance in this race. And the mediums still look like the tire to be on, but the hard's looking really good as well. Tom Manley's not far off these guys, I have to say, at the moment. He's almost within DRS range. He's working hard to try to get into that DRS of Istvan Pukki in front. We'll see if he's going to be able to do it through this middle sector here, but he's tantalizingly close on those hards and has worked his way up to here. Now, of course, we've had early pit stops for Luke Smith, Otis Lawrence, Philip Preschnader, all those guys going for an early undercut. So we'll see how they come into play later. But we'll see if there's going to be any swaps here as Barry Borman into the pit lane. In comes Barry Borman from the race lead. We've got another car follow as well. And he's got a 5-second penalty for speeding. So Borman's not going to be in contention for this immediately. Sped on the way into the pits. A rare error from Barry.
Yeah, very rare error indeed, and certainly given the way the Deltas have behaved as well, that could cost him majorly later on, of course, when this race unfolds. Up at the sharp end, though, Danny Moreno still holds on to the lead. Tom Manley, who has been superb on those hard tyres, also coming in. Now, just to note, Wilson Hughes taking those soft tyres right through virtually to 14 laps, now 15 laps, should I say, now onto the medium tyres. They're going to be rapid. Dylan Warren as well has gone for that similar strategy as Marcel Kiefer now goes past Warren, but not ahead of Hughes. Hughes is still there in 14th and will certainly benefit off this come when the hard tyres come into box. This could be a superb Wilson Hughes call at this moment, Jack.
Certainly can, as now Tom Manley's has made a mistake. Did he spin in the middle sector? I think he did. Tom Manley, who was running really well, we mentioned him, but I think he's just got back going again. So major issues there for Tom Manley as he tries to get himself through. As Luke Smith now gets by Fabrizio Donoso into P8. But I do want to mention something, George. Luke Smith, right, he has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Do you know who that puts into the net race lead at the moment? Otis Lawrence.
Absolutely, and I was going to say, because given the fact that he is now coming off the back of a difficult run last time that would have cost him his race win, obviously the penalty that took it away from him after he crossed the pit entry line, this is a great chance for Otis Lawrence to essentially, well, take his place back. He could lead the championship come the end of this race.
Certainly could. He's got fresher tyres than Luke Smith, of course. But again, we have to wait for Danny Moreno and Istvan Pukki to pit. And Istvan Pukki is very much challenging Danny Moreno now. So those mediums are coming to the end of their life now. And he's just going to try to get them as long as he can. Barry Borman in P13, but of course he has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pits as well. So we'll see how this is going to end, because this is very interesting. Going into the halfway point of this race, Moreno leads. Istvan Pukki is second on the hard, so he'll be going longer into this race. Round into the second to last corner we will come now, and I'm sure there's going to be a swap here / a pit stop. I feel like Moreno may respond to Barry immediately now, knowing that he's got the penalty. So we'll see as they come around the final corner. We're going to wait to see. Moreno's going to stay out here in the front here, and this is, of course, now this will help Otis Lawrence. The longer he can hold him up, the better. And Danny Berezne has made his way through past Patrick Sipos as well, so it's Berezne in the fold now as well. But you have to feel, of course, Moreno and Otis Lawrence, they're part of the same fold here. He'll want to help out his teammate as much as possible as he makes a move past Fabrizio Donoso. But the longer he can stay in front here, the better for the two of them.
Yeah, I'm also watching Wilson Hughes like a hawk here, Jack, setting the fastest lap already now on that previous lap, and now is actually closing and gaining. Remember, he's already stopped. He can take those mediums to the end as well. 2 laps only accrued, as well as Dylan Warren, who could be in for a shout himself, but only has quite a bit of time to find on that of Wilson Hughes. If you look at Hughes' gaps, he's not far from Otis Lawrence in terms of the time deficit. So when Otis certainly takes the lead, Wilson Hughes could easily push up towards those on the hards ahead of him here. Burman might be in trouble, as will Preschnader, and not to mention all the other hard tyres that we've got further up the order, not to mention Louis Welsh as well. Basically, P1 to P7 still yet to pit, which could throw up this result into a huge question mark come the end of this race.
Certainly can. Moreno carries on for another lap. So we're going to see, but Istvan Pukki doesn't want to wait around. Istvan Pukki takes the lead of the Dutch Grand Prix here in PSGL around the first corner. Sipos challenging Berezne at the same time, not able to make the move through as well as they start to work together further on further back as well. Benham and Donoso swapping places, and Benham, of course, on fresher tyres. And Boremand swapping places with Philip Preschnader at the same time as Luke Smith and Otis Lawrence side by side. This is a big move now. This is for the net race lead between Otis Lawrence and Luke Smith, and Otis Lawrence round the outside of turn 3, and through he goes past Luke Smith. That is net P1 for the moment, but we're hearing, George, Otis has been told there's rain on the way.
I was just about to say, Jack, we've been hearing murmurs of rain here at Zandvoort. The question is, though, will it get here in time before the end of the race? A cracking move, though, by Otis Lawrence to take that P8 away from Luke Smith. It is now essentially Lawrence with the net race lead at this point, and certainly with Luke Smith's time penalty, it does go in Otis's favour. At this point, the net race leader is the man on your screen. It is Otis Lawrence right now, who's now right on the tail of Louis Welch as he makes his way out of the chicane section. He's going to be making his way through the next right. Pookie's in the pits. He's going to make a change already, but look at Lawrence, who's right on the tail of Louis Welch. He might not have anything to give here, but Lawrence will have him in an abundance. We're going to go 3 wide. Again, though, Welch going defensive to the inside. Otis is Gotis. He's here in turn 1. He makes the move around the outside. Sensational from Otis Lawrence, the young man, the 15-year-old young Welshman who's looking to get into F1 Esports Challenges, is putting on a stellar display we would expect from a vibrant and certainly experienced F1 Esports driver. What a sensational move.
Oh, that's a wonderful move around the outside of turn 1, and Louis Welch gave him enough respect to leave him the space on the outside. But that is a wonderful series of overtakes, and that's left, of course, you've got Luke Smith is still stuck in that train, so that's a huge overtake that he's made right there. But I reckon, George, Danny Moreno is staying out there and waiting for this rain to come. He's got 19 lap old mediums. He's still out there on those tyres, and he will drop a ways behind Otis Lawrence later on as Luke Smith makes a move on Tom Mandy, but he's still stuck behind Louis Welch here in P6 and P7, so this is not ideal for him, as now with pit stops coming, Beresne's in, but Danny Moreno, he's still out there on those tyres. He's banking on either a safety car or the rain coming soon, but you've got to wonder, he's definitely going to be waiting for that rain to come. Is there going to be even more action in the middle pack here? Jake Benham's in the middle of this as well as they come through, and Benham's worked his way through all of a sudden. He's on a net podium at the moment.
He certainly is. Incredible scenes here, a battle that very nearly went 4 wide, heading down the home straight. Dylan Warren also looking to make moves as well, but just look at Barry Burman, who is right on the tail of that Mercedes livery here. The F1 World Cars that are making their way around this circuit, but you're currently seeing on track is a man that represents Ferrari, chasing the Mercedes representative. That is, of course, Jake Benham, the All-Star, who partnered up with Jarno Watmir last season, and Danny Moreno, who incidentally still leads this race out on track as well, as we're now seeing them make their way through this next left. Just look at them nose to tail. Burman, though, with the DRS once again. Mighty challenge heading into the chicane. He will, of course, he might wait, though, as he now looks to tee up this chicane section now. Makes his way through out of turns 11 and turns 12. Opens up the throttle and makes his way down through towards turn 13 and 14. Jake Benham looking to prosaically rise. He's within 4/10 on Luke Smith as Moreno comes into the pits to make his change off those medium tyres. In comes now the All-Star. Jake Benham outside line on Luke Smith. He will move now into 4th place, into Barry Burman. Sensational overtake. He's got them both as Burman, the champion, current champion, now in 4th place.
Wonderful move for Barry Borman inside on 2 cars into turn 1. He'll be kicking himself for speeding in the pits now, because he'd be net P2 chasing Otis Lawrence, but he has got fresher tyres. We can't cut out anything yet. 5-second time penalty to be added to his time at the end of this race, but Otis Lawrence now in the net race lead, and the guys behind him have all got penalties, so it's all in his lap right now for the young Welshman, but there's still plenty of time left, because the one I'm now watching, George, Danny Moreno has pitted for soft tyres, and everybody else is on mediums/hards. So this is going to be a fascinating end to this race. Let's see how far he can go as Wilson Hughes gets by Tom Manley. And I tell you what, Wilson's in good shape here as well, George. For 6-lap-old mediums, everybody else in front of him is on hards. Watch out for Wilson.
Yeah, and he wasn't the only one to do that stint either. We saw another driver do exactly the same. That, of course, being that as well of the man who's currently sat in 14th place. That, of course, being Dylan Warren, who's got a little bit more work to do than what Wilson has, but that long stint might help him. Sheepos now in the pits. Wilson Hughes now has gained certainly a massive number of places. He has now moved up into 6th place. Remember, he was in 7th, so he has gained a spot in all this chaos. Danny Berejny now setting the fastest lap as well on those fresher medium tyres. He's only done 2 laps on those as well, as now we're seeing the cars make their way through. Look at Otis Lawrence though, right at the sharp end, 5.5 seconds away from fellow Welshman Josh Edo. How often can we say there are 2 Welshmen leading the race here in PSGL, especially here in Zandvoort?
Yeah, Josh Edo is just hanging on for dear life out there at the front, but it might come his way, you never know. We've seen stranger things happen here at PSGL, but Barry wants to get by Otis as quickly as possible. He knows he has that penalty, and it's all going to be a case of if he can try and get away. But again, we haven't seen anybody win by a margin like that before in a long time, as Preschnader gets through, and Tom Manley is trying to hang on in the middle pack there, but 13 laps to go here at Zandvoort. Edo leads, but Borman now, he'll want to take this net race lead away, even with the penalty. Here he comes, down the main straight, inside line, no fight put up by Otis Lawrence this time, and Barry Borman, for the moment, takes the on-track race lead, but again, with the penalty, he'll drop down. But Istvan Pukki, it looks threatening. 4-lap-old medium tyres, gets by Philip Preschnader, continues his charge up through the field. As we see now Donoso making a move on Tom Manley. They're fighting, they're still on 23-lap-old hard tyres here, trying to fight it out. And they have a charging Spaniard coming up behind them in just a few moments in the form of Danny Moreno. Yeah,
they certainly do. Moreno now on a rush. He is currently breaking into that 2-second gap that currently sits between him and Tom Manley, and he's starting to cruise in, taking 10th after 10th, already in a solitary sector. 1.5 seconds now. That time is coming down. Moreno is on a charge. He's now nearly broken into the 1 second. The man is flying. This is a sensational drive from Danny Moreno, who is now hot on the tail of Tom Manley. Remember, on lap 24 of 36, and he has got a plethora of cars right ahead of him here. 2 of them haven't yet stopped that are right in front of him as well. Edo, also another car that hasn't stopped, but he's now looking all over the rear of Tom Manley and also that of Donoso. Those 2 cars yet to pit will certainly offer Moreno a chance, and it will give him DRS as he makes his way down now. We got Pukki and Wilson Hughes coming together. Istvan Pukki moves up into 6th place too, as Moreno launches a charge down the inside, easy as you like. The machine now into the top 10.
Yeah, and I have noticed there's definitely cloud cover around Zandvoort right now. Josh Edo is doing a rain dance out the front right now with this car. It should be a Red Bull, but again, the F1 World Car out here. But again, rain is expected, but how quickly is it expected is the thing. And Josh Edo will be helping sooner rather than later. 24-lap-old hard tyres. They're not going to be in the best shape. Danny Moreno getting another move done on Fabrizio Donoso for that 9th position. He's got a few more cars to make through, but the man who's really making the most ground is Van Pukki. Made the move past Wilson Hughes and now is closing up to the back of this lead train. Still very much a chance on here for Istvan Pukki. Moreno gets another move done past Philip Preschnader. So there's 3 different strategies are going to be converging at the end here once again. Coming around the final corner, Pukki is all over the back of Luke Smith here. Round the final corner, there's not going to be much that Luke Smith can do about this inside line. He'll just have to defend as best he can up towards the first corner. Pukki on the outside, he'll have the line on Jake Benham as well. In towards turn 1, Smith dives it up the inside, tries his best to hang on. A little bit of contact through the corner, and Pukki's up to P5, continues his charge. He's on for a real shot here.
Yeah, and Istvan Pukki also stellar when it comes to mixed conditions racing. If the rain comes down and affects this race, do not count him out for a really stellar result. He's on the better tyres of anybody in that top 5 and is right on the tail of Jake Benham as well. Still it's Edo out in front though, still yet to box. Barry Burman leading this train that currently sit behind him too. Otis Lawrence, if you consider the penalty, on for a race win here in this race with 10 laps still to go. I'm looking through the little slits in my fingers, just barely. I can't bear to watch it. I tell you what, anything can happen as Pukki goes for another, as he makes his way through now past Jake Benham. He is ascending through the field on these medium tyres. They're cooking for Istvan Pukki.
They certainly are, and the last time he took a race win was in mixed conditions as well. There could be more mixed conditions on the way, and well, Josh Edo needs them to come sooner rather than later. He's still in the lead, he's hanging on for that rain to come soon. 2 seconds is the gap to the front. 26-lap-old hards versus those 11-lap-old hards of Barry Borman. He's a 5-second penalty, but Istvan Pukki is with them now up at the front end. Surely Now, this is his race in the bag, but he needs to make the move stick, and these guys are going to defend with everything they've got. 14-lap-old Hards and Otis Lawrence's car. He's in the net race lead at the moment. Barry Borman has a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pits, so Pookie, all he needs to do is make his way by young Otis Lawrence, who's trying his best to take his second victory in a row. Of course, the previous victory was voided on track, of course, after all that, coming from 17th. But this time, he's in the winning position for the moment, but needs to try and keep this man behind. But this is going to be a mammoth task, and you got to watch out for Danny Moreno on the softs as well later on in this race, but still plenty to happen. But Borman in DRS of Josh Ito now. He's hung on as long as he possibly can. He's going to try hang on for even longer here. He needs the rain to come, but is it going to come too late?
It could well do. We're currently running on board with this Van Pookie now, who's starting to land a charge here on Otis Lawrence, but Lawrence will have that DRS, of course, on Barry Burman, but so does Burman. He has the DRS on Josh Ito as they climb now down through towards turn 1. There's Burman, who's currently sat where he is in P2. Just look at Shipos, though, getting past Philip Perejnader. He's on 5-lap old softs as well, so he is going to be rampant towards the end, very much like Danny Moreno, though Shipos does have a lap pressure on his tyres as well. Louis Welch also getting up and past Dylan Warren. That's for 14th. Too, as we see now a battle at the front end, and just look at Josh Ito now, he's in trouble, because enter Barry Burman as they dip through the Schleviak. It's a Schleviak special for Barry Burman. He leads the way in a very unorthodox way. What an overtake, Jack.
Yeah, he knows he needed to make it soon because he needs to try and make a gap, and round goes Otis Lawrence at the same time. Ito has nothing left in those tyres. He's tried his damnedest to try and hang on for as long, but the rain has not come. The safety car has not come that he needed, and now he's just going to try and minimise the points loss here as he'll get eaten up by these guys behind as well. This Van Pookie's on his tail now. Jake Benham is also in the middle of this as well. He's come from a long way back. Is now P5, it'll be P4, and possibly even further positions as now Istvan Pookie will make the move past Josh Ito in towards turn 1 as well. Nothing the Welshman can do about that, and through he goes into P3 for Istvan Pookie. But with this as well, Jake Benham on the back, 17-lap-old Hards, and is trying his best to hang on here. But Danny Moreno has caught the train, George. 7-lap-old softs, but will they be at their best?
The big question indeed. The benefit, though, that Otis Lawrence has, that Burman still has a penalty, so he can stay on the rear here, utilise the DRS. That could protect him against that of Pookie in behind as well. Of course, Moreno, who's currently also trying to seize his advantage. 7 laps accrued already on those soft tyres. Tom Manley, though, a retirement. Again, a safety car. A safety car out on track. Now, that might save Ito's race. Now, what do the front runners decide to do here? Because, of course, this is a big question mark now, because if the rain comes out during the safety car, Jack, that could change everything in this race, but it's still dry here.
That might have come just slightly too late for Josh Ito, but it will save him quite a lot of bother here. So that is exactly it is what he needed, but he needed that to come a bit earlier.
This is decision-making time, though. Is it
this is big decision time. Barry Borman's on 13-lap-old Hards. Otis on 16-lap-old Hards as well. You got to imagine the majority, will they pit or will they bother?
Here comes Barry.
Softs left. Barry's in. Otis is going to come in. Now, can he serve his penalty under the safety car? Let's wait and see for Barry Borman, because if he can, then that will save his race for Barry Borman. Yes, he's serving the penalty, and again, there's going to be a double stack here, but Barry will get to serve his penalty, which normally is not allowed in real life F1. They're switching in. Is that a mistake? Istvan Pookie's on the inters and Ito's on the inters. They're expecting the rain to come during the safety car. The rest have all gone on softs. This is amazing.
Intermediate tyres for Pookie, intermediate tyres for Ito, intermediate tyres for Donoso, Luke Smith as well. I tell you what, no one knows what the conditions are. That safety car couldn't have been done at a most, I would say, trepidatious moment. We don't know where the weather's going. No one does. We have heard rumours or murmurings. I'm getting confirmation, Jack, on my telemetry. Light rain in 6 minutes. Light rain in 6 minutes. So brace yourself, folks at home, as to whether that is true. 6 minutes time means 3 laps, Jack. So lap 33, we could see the rain come down.
But will it? But that'll only leave 3 laps to go. Will it? It depends on how quickly the rain comes down. Because if it doesn't come down quickly enough, then surely the softs are the best tire to be on. So right now, Patrick Sipos is leading this race. 7-lap-old softs. He decided not to pit and has decided to wait. So that means on the strategies currently, Otis Lawrence is in what you would call the net race lead, but it's actually not. Sipos is very much in the lead here. Istvan Pukki's on the intermediate tyres in P3 from seemingly nowhere. Jake Benham is now in P4 on his tyres as well. How many positions has he made up, actually? 13 positions Jake Benham has made up from his starting place. What a drive from Jake Binham, as he's affectionately known, but there's certainly not a Binham day for Jake Benham. Barry Borman now race rescued from that 5-second penalty. He's now P5. Josh Ito, very much a race save from this safety car, but he's on the intermediate tyres. We wait to see if the rain's going to come quickly enough.
5 minutes,
Hughes,
Jack.
P7. Danny Beresne, Philip Rester, and Danny Moreno, P10. Danny Moreno will be absolutely sickened. He's down to P10 now. There's a lot of work to do. 5 minutes, says the telemetry. If it's light rain, will it come down hard enough for the Inters to be effective? Obviously, Istvan Pukki and Ido think so, as do Luke Smith and Donoso. But that will only leave 3 laps to go. And well, it's going to be a
countdown. This is
it could be literally last lap. All the driver will slide off the road. It could be literally could happen.
well. Thing is, it might not necessarily be lap 33 now because the rain seems to be coming in quicker. 4 minutes, it's now telling me. I'm watching this now, and obviously, considering we're in the safety car pace, we could have it as soon as lap 32. So I'm not sure where this is going to go. It's between lap 32 and 33 right now. Shipos currently leads. Otis Lawrence on fresh soft tyres, half a second behind Shipos. As it plays out right now, Shipos is potentially a sitting duck. The safety car now is coming in this lap. Race control confirming this as well. It's all down to this. Istvan Pukki is on intermediate tyres on a dry track. He's going to be a sitting duck as well. Cars behind, throttling at the mouth, looking to gain places. Shipos now is going to take them round and back in the field, right up. Look at this, a cork in the bottle. Patrick Shipos as they make their way down towards turn 13 yet again. And here at Zandvoort, yet again, the first official race of the season, the first one where they can score points. Shipos now rounding turn 14, aggressively warming up his 8-lap-old tyres as they put pedal to the metal for the second time in this race now. And immediately Jake Benham makes his way through, passes Van Pukki. The intermediate tyres though coming back on Pukki's car, but Benham doing enough as he makes his way through. Wilson Hughes gaining places as well, 6th place ahead of Josh Ito. They're clambering for positions, Jack. It's chaos in the first sector.
This hasn't worked for the intermediate runners so far. There's carnage further back to Noso, dropping to the field, but now Otis Lawrence gets himself by Patrick Sipos, retakes the lead here in Zandvoort. Now he needs to get away. Jake Benham is P3, chasing down P2. Barry Boorman P4, Wilson Hughes P5. The Inters are not working at this stage, but maybe it might come to them later as Benham makes the move and is into P2 and chasing down our race leader. Boorman gets himself through to P3, sides his way past Patrick Sipos, but now it's raining, George.
It's raining. Could this be the big turnaround that Pukki's been waiting for? Kiefer also making moves as well. Side by side further up as well as Moreno goes alongside that of Presneda, heading through the chicane. The machine, Danny Moreno, moves on up, as does Dylan Warren as well. They've got a dry track at least for now, as we're seeing all the cars round it now. This time as well, more action further down as Wilson Hughes moves through past Patrick Shipos, as well as Danny Beresne, who now makes his way up as well. Incredible scenes here, a mishmash, a battle for places. We got 3 laps to go, 4 laps if you include this one, and it's starting to kick off. Lawrence leads, Benham in second. Here we go.
But how quickly will this track get wet is the biggest thing here. We have to watch the intermediate runners like Hawks here, because as soon as they start to gain time on the cars in front, then we know it's crossover time. And Benham is all over the back of Otis Lawrence. What a sensational result this would be for Jake Benham. He hasn't had a win in 2 seasons, 3 seasons nearly, and would love to get himself back on the top step. Otis Lawrence trying to recover from last week's disappointment. He'll want to try and put that behind him, but Jake Benham is on a charge here from the back of the grid almost. He started all the way down. He was towards the back of the field here. He's currently up about 15 places. He started 17th on the grid. Who started 17th last week? The man in front of him. Here comes Jake Benham out of the final corner. No DRS. DRS is disabled. Jake Benham is coming through. DRS re-enabled now as they come over through. It's after the safety car, of course. Benham looking to the outside. No way through for the moment now as they try to fight their way through. But Otis Lawrence is absorbing the pressure. But these are two young guns vying for a win.
They certainly are. Nose to tail once again as they come through the bank corners, heading through Zandvoort, through turn 3, 4, 5 and 6 still to come. Lawrence now leads the way. Benham in second. Barry Brumand as well in third place. Watching all this unfold as they come within a 10th once again. Prejnader and Sheepos coming together. Prejnader now up to 8th place as well, but we can't take our eyes off the lead pairing. It is Lawrence now in front. We have got 3 laps to go, including this one, 2.5 if you're picky. It's Lawrence now in front. The gap now moving out to 2.5 tenths as they come together again. But of course now with Lawrence leading the way, it gives him the advantage at least this point. Though take the DRS out of the equation, he will surely be praying for that to happen now. Remember, with the rain coming down, how much is that going to affect the drivers in the sharp end as Lawrence now coasts through turn 14. Benham in behind him. Burman looking to join them as they now make their way down the straight still. Lawrence goes defensive. Otis can't stop him. It's Jake Benham. The All-Star goes for the lead. And Burman around the outside. They make contact through turn 1. But Lawrence holds on to second. It's Benham on top.
It certainly is. Benham leads the race, 17th to the win right now if he can hang on to this, but it's getting trickier out there. The guys are sliding around a bit more and we're monitoring that gap, but the Inters are not still at that point yet. A lap and a half to go. Jake Benham leads, but I reckon this is great stuff from Jake Benham. He's managed this. He's got more ERS than Otis Lawrence, and he needs a lap and a half to hang on for another 17th to first in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it doesn't stop raining for 14 minutes, Jack, so you can count that out come the end of the race. It's going to continue raining. It's not going to stop. And Lawrence now really struggling now against these conditions. I'm guessing the setup has played a factor. We're seeing now Burman starting to move up here on the young Welshman, who has been stellar in the start of his PSGL season, as Marcel Kiefer goes ahead of Prejnader himself. Barry Burman starting to gain all the time now. The rapidly fast Iranian, the current PSGL champion. Third place here out on track as we enter the final lap of the race. In comes now Barry Burman. He goes for second here in this classification. He can't stop him, Otis Lawrence, but nevertheless a sterling drive. It's Burman up to second place, and he's going to charge after that of Jake Benham.
Yeah, now they're just going to cling on for another lap. Wilson Hughes is challenging it now for a podium place. He'd love to get himself back on the podium after a long dry spell. Danny Berezna has come from seemingly nowhere into P5. Dylan Warren's in there as well. But this is sensational now. Wilson Hughes all over the back of Otis Lawrence. Otis does not have the ERS to defend here. Coming through the middle sector. Is there enough in the tank for him here? But this has been a sensational race once again in PSGL. And we're going to have another driver who was knocked out in Q1 come through to take a seemingly impossible victory with impossible circumstances as they come up towards the final sector for the final time. Still no way through for Wilson Hughes, but again in mixed conditions in season 29 it was Joni Tormala who would come out on top here, but this has been a sensational drive from the young Englishman who will exit the final corner for his first ever victory for Mercedes. Jake Benham will cross the line and will win the Dutch Grand Prix from 17th on the grid. Barry Burman is second. Wilson Hughes steals the podium on the line by 0.02 of a second from Otis Lawrence. Dylan Warren is P5, Danny Moreno P6, Marcel Kiefer, Philip Prejnader, Danny Berezna and Patrick Sipos gets the final point position. But could you have predicted this? Jake Benham with his second ever victory in PSGL, and he did it from 17th.
Well, it's brilliant Benham. Jake Benham, the All-Star, defines that statement with a fantastic win here in PSGL. He lit up Zandvoort, he gave it everything, was certainly very careful on a treacherous circuit, but on those soft tyres, despite the rain coming down, it did not deter him one bit, not one iota. It's Benham who takes the lead of the championship, the first official point-scoring round here in PSGL, and it's him on top. being behind him as well. Not forgetting a rampant drive from Barry Burman, and not to mention Wilson Hughes up towards the line, stealing it away. I'm going to call him Gotis because he is still that. Otis Lawrence in 4th place, just usurped that podium by that of Wilson Hughes. But what an occasion. 2 of the drivers we've come to know and love, former co-drivers at CRG back in Conrad Gaming years ago, Jake Benham and Wilson Hughes sharing the podium together, but Barry Burman splitting the difference. The current PSGL champion finishing 2nd here at the Dutch Grand Prix circuit of Zandvoort. Benham, though, will celebrate. Otis Lawrence finishing in 4th, Dylan Warren in 5th, Danny Moreno in 6th, gave it everything, what it could have been if we didn't have the safety car. Marcel Kiefer in 7th, Philip Prejnader in 8th, Danny Berejne in 9th, Patrick Schipos in 10th place, Louis Welch in 11th, Istvan Pukki in 12th, Josh Edo in 13th, Luke Smith in 14th, Fabrizio Donoso Delgado in 15th, with Tom Manley out, as well as Matthias van Herven, as well as Brendan Lee, Ruben Pedreño and Jarno Otmir, who had that brake failure on his rig, unfortunately unable to proceed through the race. Well. What a race, Jack Canan. We're back again here at PSGL, a scoring round this time. A result we probably did not expect in many ways. But it's Jake Benham, the All-Star. He is our race winner. He takes the first official point scoring round victory this season in season 34. A great drive, though, from Barry Burman to recover after the issues with the penalty that he had to pay during the pit stop phase. And how about that last gasp podium from Wilson Hughes as well? It came when he needed it most. He crossed the line, just barely 23 thousandths difference between him and Otis for that P3.
Yeah, great stuff. Managed the ERS well enough that he could just release down the main straight, and the DRS obviously helping him to just nip him on the line by the smallest of margins. But incredible drive from Jake Benham. So that's so far, I mean, with the previous result avoided and there's penalties involved, but again, the driver comes from outside the top 15, knocked out in Q1 to take a race victory on the final lap. Incredible stuff that we go. Again, even with the point situation as well, of course, the previous 2 rounds were avoided. Barry Burman still continues the record of not finishing lower than 2nd in a season opener or point scoring round. So again, incredible consistency. And Wilson Hughes, I know he'll be delighted with that podium, worked hard for it. But Benham leads the championship.
Can you believe it? It is going to be Jake Benham up on the top step. And something we haven't yet seen in the PC Championship, Jack, I don't think. Because he, of course, delivering on Xbox all those years ago, of course, where he would have raced in the likes of WR. It's quite sensational because yourself and me, Jack, we were part of CRG back in the day as commentators. We've got 2 former CRG members up on the podium as well. One of them's actually joined us in the commentary box as well. And I'm going to speak to him now. Wilson Hughes. We got plenty on camera for you this time, Wilson. And not only that, a stellar run up to the line as well, taking a phenomenal P3. 23 thousandths, I think I counted, between you and Otis towards the line.
Yeah, well, first of all, thanks for giving me the camera time. I appreciate that, George. But yeah, no, it was right at the end there. It was quite tough. Unlucky on Otis. I know that can be quite a sore feeling. But yeah, it's just nice to get a little bit of momentum now. The last 3 races I've done, I really feel like you could call it luck or misfortune, whatever, is just not really been on my side. So it's nice to have a race where I can just drive and everything not go wrong or right. Just have it where I drive and it does its thing. So really pleased with that.
Yeah, a fantastic start for you, Wilson. Obviously, we've had a bit of a crazy start to the season. 2 rounds already voided due to the tyre grip issue. Obviously, moving across to the F1 World Car. Is there any differences that you can pinpoint when driving this car in comparison to your usual McLaren that you would probably drive during the league season?
To be honest with you, I'm not too sure. I'd have to drive Zandvoort, for example, in both cars. From what I felt, it feels pretty similar. There's not really much difference. At the end of the day, it's an F1 car, it's an F1 23 car. There might be slight differences, but to me, it feels all the same. Yeah,
I mean, it certainly does seem to be pretty good and rampant as ever. I mean, obviously, looking ahead now, you've kick-started, should we say, the scoring portion of the championship extremely well. We've got more rounds to come as well, plenty of exciting races. Where can you go from here? It certainly does look promising. It was a mighty charge for you towards the end.
Yeah, well, I mean, we hope we can charge up the championship, but, you know, one race isn't all. There's cars around us that look pretty quick. We can't really slow down. There's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes, especially at McLaren, and I'm sure there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes at other teams, and we can't really rest because everyone else doesn't look like they're slowing down. So we're going to reset and refocus for next week. We're going to keep pushing, see if we can find any more pace. But yeah, it's just great to be in the podium, and congrats to Jake in the win. I saw that he went from P18 or 17 to the win, which is quite impressive, and congrats on Barry to P2 as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a new teammate as well joining you at McLaren this season. Danny Moreno switches across to join yourself and Lucas Blakely as well. Just a quick word on his performance tonight. Obviously, Wilson, he looked pretty strong out there. He hasn't seemed to have missed or skipped a beat at all.
Who's this, Otis?
No, Danny Moreno.
Danny Moreno, yeah, he looked very strong. It was good to see him get into Q3. It's always nice having a new teammate, just to see how you work with a new teammate and how you get along, how the chemistry works. So yeah, it's good. It's good to see him and the team been friends for quite a while. And yeah, before I do leave, I just do want to say thanks to everyone at McLaren right now, because they're putting a lot of work in, and it's really appreciative. And yeah,
well, couldn't say. I'm sure it's.
I'm sure. Can you thank me as well, please?
Barry, no one likes you.
GG.
Incredible.
GG, bro.
I think Barry's looking for that last-minute rub after he left McLaren in the lurch and went to Ferrari. But yeah, incredible. Yeah, thank you so much, Wilson. Very best of luck for the next round. Congratulations on the super podium, mate. Well done.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Jack.
Cracking stuff. That's Wilson Hughes, everybody. We're now going to be joined by what can only be described as McLaren's fraud, Barry Burraman, who unfortunately left the team in the lurch and decided to join Ferrari as one traitor would. Barry, welcome to the commentary box. Now a stellar drive from yourself. I am joking, by the way. An incredible,
I know.
An incredible race from yourself. You had a lot.
Easy?
Yeah, Jack. Incredible race from yourself, Barry. Gave it everything. A stellar drive, returning to the podium once again. But it wasn't that easy, was it?
Yeah, first of all, it was an interesting race, and finally we have a race pace after we are doing equal cars, because last two races in PSGL, like, you know, everyone at Ferrari, we were just so confused on what is going on, like why we are so slow in the race. So yeah, finally, really good to see we have a really good race pace. But yeah, just first of all, I want to say sorry, I think, to Marcel out exit of turn 1. I didn't even touch him, but it was just, I don't know, this thing which we see so many times in this game. It has a problem with this. Like, I just didn't touch him at all. I can't even show him my POV, but still, you know, his race got ruined, and I feel I needed to apologize still. But yeah, and then next, yeah, I mean, the race was going well, and then after I did a tiny mistake hitting the grass, I had to give the position to Otis on soft. So, and then yeah, I just managed the race, and then when the soft drop off, I just moved, and then when I was on a move to get into the lead, yeah, I got charged from the back, and then I was so lucky I didn't hit the wall. Like, I just completely spun, like half spun, and then I lost like, I think 3 places. And then yeah, I just tried to recover, which I did. I was leading the train, and then when I went to the pit, I sped into the pit lane, which only happened, I think, in my whole career like 2 times with this one. And yeah, I did it, and then the safety car just pitted, and then we knew we need to get removed at 5 seconds, so we did. And then yeah, I just tried my best, and then still recovered to P2. I mean, not bad, but still, from what happened, yeah, it was quite good. I'm happy with P2, and GG's to Jake as well. Amazing race, and I think P3 or I don't know who got P3, but GG to Otis and Wilson as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tremendous battle, certainly from yourself, Barry. And I want to talk about your one-lap pace as well, because your qualifying was stellar. I don't think there was any other word we could describe, but you're one of the only few to set an improvement in your final run in Q3. You must have been absolutely thrilled to achieve that. I mean, no one could really touch you in qualifying tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy with that, but still, you know, for esport, and thanks to everyone, like, for putting the work. And yeah, we just, you know, this race, it was a lot to us, in my opinion, a lot to me actually, because, you know, there was like two races. I just feel there was no pace in the race. Like, of course, in quali, it was every time it was there. But in the race, it was like literally no pace. After 3 laps, we were literally gone. We were hitting a drop off. And then yeah, I'm super happy that we had a really strong race pace. And yeah, quali, I mean, it's just quali and me.
Well, it was a perfect result for you in qualifying, but obviously P2 in this race. But we'll wish you all the best of luck, Barry, current champion, of course. And the big question is, will you retain that title? Already a podium, though, a great start. So we'll look forward to seeing you for the next one, Barry.
Yeah, thank you so much, George and Jack and everyone who were watching.
Thank you ever so much, Barry. Thank you ever so much. Now, next on our list, he didn't finish on the podium this time around. Of course, we saw Wilson Hughes just pip him to the line, but Otis Lawrence joins us back again in the commentary box. The man who could barely breathe last time because he thought he had the race done and dusted at Kota, but this time very nearly took a major result this time at Zandvoort. Just wasn't to be, Otis, but a splendid drive from yourself.
Yeah, that was a pretty good drive. Not really the best around here, but yeah, the pace was really good in the race, and the quali was quite surprising, to be honest, because I wasn't expecting to be as fast as I was in quali. But yeah, the strategy went really well, but the rain came at the end, which I think kind of ruined the chance for a win. So yeah, it's a bit gutting to lose out of the podium as well by a few milliseconds. So annoying, but still a lot of positives in that race, and we'll come back stronger.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, it definitely was a great visit from yourself. There was a point where you were, obviously, should we say, in that net P1 position. Can you explain what happened towards the end? Because it seemed like the soft tyres for yourself dropped off that little bit more in comparison to that of Barry and a few others, because we sort of looked at you as probably the man to watch towards the very end, obviously just as the rain came down. Was there an issue that crept in? Because we know that a few of the brake marker boards were broken. Did that cause you to second guess at some of the braking zones, or what was it that sort of played a factor in that exchange?
I'm not sure really. I didn't really feel good in the changing conditions because I was just sliding everywhere. Maybe I wasn't getting up to temperature on the tires, I don't know, but yeah, obviously it was a pace drop when the rain came. So yeah, obviously have to look at some stuff with the crossover. But yeah, it's not ideal, but yeah, I'll just have to keep looking at it because I was obviously the slowest, probably one of the slowest on the track. Not sure if they were on new set though. It's a new set of tires, but yeah, because I was on used. But yeah, oh well, we got P4. We'll come back stronger, and yeah, I'll try better at the next track. I'm not sure what the next track is, but yeah, try better.
I think it is, if I'm not mistaken, Jack. Is it not Brazil? Am I not mistaken?
Off the top of my head, it is. Normally I have Lucas who asked me that. But yeah, as far as I know, it's Brazil. That's coming up next week.
Yeah, there you have it. So what are your thoughts on Brazil, Otis?
I really love Brazil. Brazil's one of my favorite tracks. So yeah, hopefully next week we can try and win.
Well, there we go. Otis, will he be Gotis at Brazil? Find out next week, folks. Otis, a tremendous result for yourself. An incredible one indeed, just outside the top 3 spots. But congratulations on scoring some major points.
Thank you, George.
Thank you very much, Otis. So there we go, folks. Those are, of course, the drivers we're going to speak to in the interview phase. Nevertheless, I think positives to take from that. Barry certainly looks well and truly reserved. We haven't yet heard from the one, the only Jake Benham, which is quite interesting. Obviously, I thought we might get an interview with him after his race win, but nevertheless, it doesn't look like he wants to talk. So we will wait and see.
Maybe just shock.
Yeah, probably is, as probably many are in the live chat. But folks at home, I want to say a massive thank you to each and every single one of you for tuning in tonight. It has been a very, very special broadcast. Big thank you to everybody involved as well. Big thank you to Chill Blast as well. Now, if you guys want a chance at, of course, winning a PC, make sure you use the command !Chill Blast to get all the information you need to give yourself a shot of winning this PC. It's a one-time only competition, guys. You will not see it on this PSGL broadcast at all, aside from this very one here. It's not on next week. It's not on last week. It won't be on for the remaining races. It's tonight. If you want a chance of winning that, make sure you use !Chill Blast, and you can give yourself a chance of winning a Chill Blast PC, to say the least, as well. Also, a big shout out to our sponsors, GT Omega, as well, for stepping up and also, supplying PSGL with all the help as per usual, and also for the fantastic seats that they have obviously provided us commentators. If you want to get your hands on one of these, make sure you head across to the GT Omega site as well. If you guys want to check PSGL out, you can of course use @PremierSimGL on Twitter, Instagram as well. You can find them on TikTok as well. All the highlights get posted on there. Not to mention clips here, left, right and centre. Not to mention updates on the league as well. You can stay up to date with the calendar. Not to mention the championship. Any announcements that of course PSGL make, you can find it on there. If you want to check me out, of course, my name is George Morgan. I am one of your commentator duo. Like a ninja, I did that. At George Morgan TV on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. That's where you can check me out. I'm also on Facebook as well. You can find me on there. Jack, where can they find you, my friend?
Absolutely. Well, right under here you can see at Jack C Coms down there below with 2 C's. But it's written out for you now.
C's.
Two.
Written down there.
And if you want to find me on Instagram, it is Jack_Kanan as well on Instagram. And yeah, if you want to follow me, feel free to. If you don't, well, fair enough.
Yeah. No 2 C's on the Instagram though. It's important to clarify.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are 2
Very
C's
important.
technically because there's a C in Jack and a C in Kanan, so that's technically 2 C's, but not 2 C's together as it is on Twitter. So there we go. Yes, so there we have it, folks. It's been a very sensational broadcast, a strange one, it has to be said. It is Jake Benham. He has taken the championship lead already here in PSGL, but can he be stopped? We'll see you next time when we go racing at Brazil. Take care, folks. All the best. Goodbye.
Desperately trying to hang on. He's got the inside. Oh, here he's through on the left-hand side. Hooks the apex, gets on the power nicely, and that is job done. Jarno Opmeer now to the last couple of corners now. His finest drive, his greatest drive, and he's done it at the Circuit of the Americas. He returns to the top step of the podium. Once again, the ghost is back. Jarno Opmeer wins the US Grand Prix in a stunning Grand Prix.
Cocaine to my nose, got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine to my nose, got rose in my cup though. Shawty climbing my pole, she got me